Chapter 671. I can't. I really can't. I can't laugh. I can't laugh. I can't laugh now. Pff. Suddenly, a burst of laughter rang out in the silent arena. Yen Qianyun, who was in that absolute space, laughed for the first time. She didn't care about her bearing anymore and laughed while holding her stomach. Ah! I can't. There's a weirdo here. Heavens, how did his brain grow? Yen Qianyun laughed until tears came out of her eyes. Mo Tianyan's eyebrows twitched. This was the first time he had seen this beautiful woman laugh ever since he had kidnapped her. She was laughing so happily. Yen Qianyun was now almost completely sure that this Longchenbo was Lin Chen. Other than him, no one else would do such a thing. Too despicable. F***ck his grandmother's 18 generations of exploding loudspeakers. F***ck that Longchenbo. He's going too far. Did he come to participate in the ceremony or to barbecue? F***ck. When they saw the 1001 ways to make roasted dragon tendon and how to make a dragon's tail with 1,000,000 exclusive secret techniques in Mr. Lin's hands, all the beasts turned into quality spectators and began to spew fragrance, their saliva flying everywhere. One by one, they spoke as if they had eaten honey. Hei Lang was all smiles, but the veins on his face were like horned dragons. It was truly horrifying. I'll crush your bones one by one. I'll pull out your dragon veins and chew them all. Hei Lang roared, and a monstrous dragon aura soared into the heavens. The black mist-like dragon aura transformed into a majestic shadow heavenly dragon. Its claws were like an eagle's, its head was like a heavenly tiger's, its teeth were like swords, its scales were like black iron, and its body was like a mountain range. Wild dragon die. When the shadow heavenly dragon spat out a mouthful of dragon breath, it was as if the entire arena was covered in endless darkness. Chi. The ground split open, and over a dozen huge dragon claws appeared out of thin air, wanting to crush Longchenbo. Even the referee didn't care whether Hei Lang had broken the rules or not. That really infuriated Long Chen. 1,000 ways to roast dragon tendons? What did you take the #1 dragon genius of the current generation to be? That was a super genius from the Dragon Clan who was on the same level as Mo Tianyan. Lin Fan used the frightening dragon roam and retreated. When he put away the 2 secret manuals, he couldn't help but curse. F***ck. Do you still have any manners? You still want to launch a sneak attack? F***ck. You still have the cheek to talk about quality? Before Hei Lang could say anything, all the spectators angrily opened their mouths to greet Long Chen's 18 generations. Hei Lang continued to slap the ground. While the earth trembled, dragon's breath condensed out of thin air, and the shadow dragon's breath claw repeatedly slapped out of thin air. Immediately after, pillars of dark energy shot down from the sky like a rain of flowers. Shwa! 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 Longchenbo's figure transformed into a ray of green light, constantly flickering as he retreated. In the face of Hei Lang's crazy attacks, he dodged and dodged, narrowly avoiding all of them. It looked like he was being completely suppressed, unable to fight back at all. He's scared. Hit him, Your Highness Hei Lang, hit his mother. Kill this wild dragon as hard as you can. The spectators all cheered. Seeing Longchenbo retreating like he couldn't fight back at all, they all felt great inside. F***ck. Even you have a day like this. Continue to flirt. If you keep flirting all day long, His Highness Hei Lang will skin you alive. Many high-rank beasts were elated and cheered. He's scared. This brat is finally scared. Only Han Binglin frowned. She knew that Longchenbo's strength was definitely not at the level where he couldn't fight back against Hei Lang. The next moment, Longchenbo easily dodged Hei Lang's remaining attacks. He approached the remaining 2 ice mountains and picked up the green spirit blood-quenching wine that he had prepared beforehand. Han Binglin's mouth twitched. Could it be crack? Longchenbo's dragon claw broke a few more pieces of ice. He raised his cup and drank it in one gulp. His body twitched and he couldn't help but let out a moan. Ah, I feel good, the world feels good. He still had the time to drink ice? F***ck. F***ck, get out of the way. All of you, get out of the way. Don't block me. Today, I'm going to fight this little bastard to the death. If I don't kill him today, I'll write my king character backwards. A large number of ice-type high-grade vicious beasts were so angry that they directly went berserk. They howled and bared their teeth. As they revealed their true forms, their murderous aura was monstrous. Their mountain-sized bodies crazily slammed into the spatial barrier outside the arena. With their explosive tempers, they wanted nothing more than to fight with Long Chenhua. This was too excessive. Did the ice attribute beasts not have beast rights these days? They had all been reduced to this brat's drink. The 8 elders of the Xian Azure Dragon race hastily rushed to the side of the battlefield, afraid that a large number of beasts would go crazy and cause the situation to go out of control. With so many high-rank beasts attacking Long Chenhua, no matter how strong he was, he would still die. It seems I'm being looked down on. Drink? I'll drink your F***king snakeskin hammer. He Lang roared and soared into the sky. His dragon claws tore through the air, and 3 black dragon marks appeared. They were like sharp blades that cut through the earth veins. The power of this attack surpassed most mid-6th level combat emperors. The talent of the super dragon race allowed them to jump ranks. Xian Lightblade. Lin Chen activated all the way to the 690,000th dragon vein in one breath. With 699 million dragon points, he furiously brandished his dragon claws. Green light twisted and turned into a whirlwind of light blades that shot out like a storm. Chi, 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 chi. Countless green light blades destroyed He Lang's black dragon mark. He was forced to retreat step by step. 699 million dragon points? The green light blades shot toward him. He Lang activated a shadow barrier, and the light blades spun rapidly, cutting through his dragon breath barrier. Bang! He Lang was sent flying, but the green light blade's power was greatly reduced. He didn't suffer any serious injuries. This scene shocked all the high-tier dire beasts. They all sucked in a breath of cold air. 699 million dragon points? Wasn't this strength second only to Mo Tianyan? This wasn't the strength of a dragon that had been baptized by the sacred dragon pond. If it was baptized by the sacred dragon pond, wouldn't it be possible for Long Chenhua to surpass Mo Tianyan? The elders of the Xian dragon race were overjoyed as if they had picked up a treasure. Bang! 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 The earth trembled. Lin Chen transformed into the Xian dragon for the first time and charged toward He Lang. Damn it! Great darkness engulfs the heavens. He Lang hysterically roared and unleashed a black dragon breath that was thousands of feet long towards the Azure Dragon. Xian Dragon Domain. Streams of dragon chi turned into a dark green dragon light that circled around the dragon's body. It condensed into a green armor and charged into the dragon breath storm. Rip! The sonic boom whistled as the Azure Dragon soared into the sky. Its momentum did not diminish as it charged towards He Lang. He had actually withstood He Lang's all-out attack? What? He Lang's mouth twitched. The tyrannical Azure Dragon charged over. When it collided with He Lang, it was as if 2 small continents had collided. Boundless shockwaves rose into the sky. Chapter 672. Bang! He Lang was sent flying. Rip! The Azure Dragon raised its claw and slashed down furiously. The claw tore through the universe and crushed He Lang's dragon scales. Blood and flesh splattered everywhere and a miserable cry resounded throughout the battlefield. This claw had directly cut off He Lang's dragon arm. The strength of both sides were not on the same level. The 10,000-year profound Azure Dragon was famous for its defense. The Azure Dragon's defense was activated with 690,000 dragon veins. Only an early 7th level combat emperor could break a part of it. No matter how strong He Lang was, he was only stronger than most mid-6th level combat emperors. There was still a large gap between him and an early 7th level combat emperor. The Azure Dragon rushed through his attack with ease. Obtained 5 million chi and blood energy, 95 million chi and blood energy, 9 million chi and blood energy, 2 million chi and blood energy. The extremely high-quality chi and blood energy balls rolled down and were all absorbed by Lin Chen's dragon body. The system screen kept popping up. After tearing off He Lang's dragon arm at a close distance, its eyes were filled with rage. It opened its bloody mouth and bit down on the Azure Dragon's dragon arm. Crack! The dragon tooth was broken and flew out, blood was flowing everywhere. With this bite, even the teeth were broken, which made He Lang dumbfounded. It couldn't bite this Long Chun at all. This scene was also seen by many high-ranked beasts. Their eyebrows twitched wildly. Oh my God, why is he so hard? I'll fight you to the death. 8 Desolation, exploding claw. The remaining dragon claw struck out like lightning, violently attacking the Azure Dragon's head. Lin Chun squinted his dragon eyes and directly activated that profound Azure Dragon realm. Bang! Bang! This attack was extremely powerful. The moment it hit the Azure Dragon, the dragon claw exploded 8 times in a row at the spot it had hit. Each explosion was equivalent to a late 6th level combat emperor's attack. If one was not careful, a late 6th level combat emperor would be seriously injured or even killed. He Lang was able to unleash a super strong attack that was 2 levels higher than him. In the history of the 9 prefectures, he was considered one of the best. Unfortunately, its opponent was Lin Chun. This claw only managed to push the Azure Dragon's body back, causing the Azure Dragon's chi and blood to churn. Lin Chun instantly activated the Godly Thief's Omen and absorbed the black spiral elemental light into the dragon's body. Consumed 20,000 talent points to activate Stealing Omen. The host has stolen a mysterious body-refining combat skill. 7 Ultimate Force, Purple Rank Peak, Grade Unknown. Another purple tier battle skill. Moreover, it was the same as the Annihilation Secret Spiritual Manual. Its exact grade was still unknown. Would it be top-notch low-grade or top-notch top-notch? Haha, I'll accept this great gift. Lin Chun laughed heartily and no longer held back. His entire body suddenly released all the dragon veins of the Azure Dragon's main body. 7 million dragon power points. The dragon power's aura shook the heavens, covering the clouds and covering the moon. The claw pushed away mountains and rivers for thousands of miles and smashed violently into He Lang's dragon body. It was as if the earth veins had been broken, and balls of vitality attribute light exploded all over the ground. This aura caused the fierce beasts outside the arena to feel numb. 7 million dragon power points? This kind of strength was not inferior to some of the Grand Elders. It had completely surpassed Mo Tianyan back when he hadn't been baptized by the sacred dragon pool. At this moment, Mo Tianyan's expression was extremely ugly. If he had attended the same ceremony as Long Chun back then the one being beaten down right now would be him. No, I surrender, I surrender! He Lang coughed up blood as he shouted his surrender. Several elders quickly protected him. This was the future pillar of the Umbra Heavenly Dragon. If he died, they wouldn't be able to explain themselves. I let him run again. If I beat him up, I should be able to get even more attribute points. Lin Chun, who had been planning on chasing after He Lang, felt a pang of regret. But fortunately, he had the 7 ultimate force. Furthermore, killing He Lang wasn't necessarily a good thing. If the Umbra Heavenly Dragon decided to make things difficult for him, he wouldn't be able to save Yan Qianyun. Obtained 369 points of darkness energy, 784 points of darkness energy, 450 points of darkness energy, 5 million points of vitality energy, 18 million points of vitality energy. The Umbra Heavenly Dragon's drops made Lin Chen grin from ear to ear. The rarest darkness attribute points were all over the place. The winner is the Northern Desolate Region's number 666 participant, Long Chen Bo. When the referee elder made the announcement, his eyes were still filled with lingering fear and shock. This brat had hidden his strength too deeply. Over 700,000 dragon veins. This kind of strength was equal to over half of the grand elders of the 10 great dragon races. The elders of the Xian Azure Dragon race immediately protected Lin Chen. Good brat, ha ha ha. This time, you've really given our Xian Azure Dragon race face. Our race has finally produced a peak heavenly genius, ha ha ha. They were afraid that the Umbra Heavenly Dragon would cause trouble, so they immediately stood by Lin Chen's side. When Lin Chen saw the elders of the Umbra Heavenly Dragon help He Lang up, they looked at him as if they wanted to eat him alive. Lin Chen decisively put away his dragon form and raised his middle finger to show his respect. This time, Lin Chen used his identity as Long Chen Bo to suppress the only genius comparable to Mo Tianyan. Almost no savage beast dared to fight him. Every time he drew an opponent, they would immediately forfeit. Lin Chen was also happy to wait for the result. He opened the system and activated the fusion function. System, fuse all the weapons except for my main weapon. This time, Lin Chen fused all the weapons he had. Consumed 590,000 heavenly Dao points. Fused 69 mid-grade rank 7 weapons, 29 high-grade rank 7 weapons, and 2 low-grade rank 7 weapons. Of the 2 low-grade rank 7 weapons, one was a chain ball made of cyan mystic crystal jade, and the other was a soul reaper scythe. They were obtained from the 2 sacred boundary emissaries who had tried to steal Lin Chen's azure moon. They were not suitable for Lin Chen. Boom. Ding. Fusion successful. The host has obtained a mid-grade rank 7 weapon, Wind Emperor Bow. The bow was 5 feet long, and the bowstring was translucent and dazzling. The tail of the bow was inlaid with green jade, and there was a faint sound of wind and thunder. When it moved, mountains and rivers would shatter. A mid-grade rank 7 bow. It's one of the best weapons in the entire 9 states, and even in the Firmament Tower. Lin Chen was slightly shocked. Even in the legendary Cloud State, where blacksmiths were popular, the highest grade weapons that were publicly auctioned were only mid-grade rank 7 weapons. In the past 50,000 years, there had only been 2 records of such weapons being sold. This showed how precious this weapon was. I wonder if I can threaten the late 8th level combat emperors with this bow. It's worth looking forward to. After dripping his blood on the bow, Lin Chen activated the system again. System, I want to learn 7 ultimate force. Consumed 5,400,000 heavenly Dao essence to learn 7 ultimate force. After learning the 7 ultimate force, Lin Chen sat outside the arena and closed his eyes to rest. His aura was as strong as a river, and the sun and moon were high in the sky. It was as if he was comprehending some powerful secret technique. The beasts around him were frightened and didn't dare to approach him. Chapter 673. 7 Ultimate Force was a pure body-refining battle technique. It used a special method to control pure strength to attack. It contained 7 types of ultimate force: cut, tear, pull, twist, penetrate, explode, and kill. Each type of force had its own unique characteristic. There were different ways to deal with different situations. With Lin Chen's current dragon power, he could only use the first 2 types of force, cut and tear. If he used the latter 2 forcefully, he would hurt himself before he could use them. If his pure strength was not up to par, he would only destroy his own body. Time passed, and the ceremony continued. Lin Chen was immersed in the mystery of this new top-tier purple rank technique. He was almost drunk. It was too magical. It was the first time he found out that pure strength could be used in such a mysterious way. Although the 7 ultimate strength was a type of combat skill, It was more like a top-tier purple rank technique to use one's strength. Its ultimate strength could be used in any way. Whether it was finger techniques, leg techniques, fist techniques, palm techniques, or claw techniques, they could all be used together. It all depended on the user's control. As long as the user had enough potential and the right combination, this body-refining battle technique had the possibility of becoming a top-tier purple rank technique. The top blue rank combat skill, Dark Dragon Palm, that Lin Chun had once practiced, had the same effect of twisting force and penetrating force. Although it was a different method, it achieved the same result. However, Dark Dragon Palm and 7 Ultimate Force were different. The former used Dark-type battle aura to create these two types of force, while the latter relied on pure strength to control it. They were on completely different levels. It was like a sword made of fine iron and a sword made of 10,000-year-old cold iron. They looked similar, but when they fought, they were on completely different levels. 5 days later, Lin Chun slowly opened his eyes. The ceremony was about to end. What an exquisite cultivation technique! I only managed to learn 20% of the 5,400,000 intermediate cultivation technique soul essences, but it gave me the feeling that my control over pure strength has risen by several levels. Lin Chun casually waved his hand. His 5 fingers streaked across the air, producing a sizzling sound of air being torn apart. A deep fissure appeared in the air. This was one of the 7 ultimate forces that he could use at his current stage, cutting force. As long as he uses 7 million dragon power points, even if it's just a finger, the cutting force will be comparable to the full power of a 7th level combat emperor. What if he uses his palm? Even Lin Chun felt a lingering fear. Purple tier top tier battle skill, its reputation was well deserved. In the past, Lin Chen's main battle prowess in challenging those of a higher level was the enhancement of his mental cultivation method, runes, and talent. It depended on whether the level of his weapon and cultivation method could give him an advantage. Following the increase in his opponent's strength, Lin Chen's cultivation technique and weapon lost all their advantages. In addition, the difference in strength between the late-stage War Emperor was extremely large, so it was extremely difficult for him to skip a level. Not only did Lin Chen want to increase his cultivation, he also wanted to collect more top-notch cultivation technique. At this time, an old man in a red robe floated in the air. He was a peak rank 7 dragon race ancestor. He was comparable to a mid-9th level combat emperor. Haha, this competition really is full of surprises. First place is actually that little fellow from the northern desolate region, Long Chenbua. At the moment when the red-robed old man announced, the whole place became strangely quiet. This was probably the first time that there was no applause when the winner of the competition was announced. Who would give you a barbecue so easily? Who would dare to clap? I don't have any good points, but I like to keep a low profile. Since everyone didn't say anything, I guess you all want me to keep a low profile. I like it very much. Please remember, if you are infertile, please find me. My name is Chen Bo, thank you. Lin Chuan stood up and said calmly with his half-human half-dragon face. Many ferocious beasts almost fainted from anger. How could he be a foil to him just by keeping his mouth shut? This Long Chenbua was poisonous. Extremely poisonous. Yan Qianyun, who was in the absolute space, was laughing like a flower. She was completely different from her usual transcendent appearance. This girl can still laugh. It seems like she has recognized me. Before the time limit of the absolute space is up, she shouldn't act rashly. Next, let's see how I can save her during the banquet. Lin Chen narrowed his eyes. Other than Yan Qianyun, he also had a strong interest in the dragon race's sacred dragon pond. As long as he had the chance, he didn't mind making a big deal out of it. The top 5 of this banquet, please step forward. Outside of the top 5, please go to the dragon platform to receive your reward. The red-robed elder shook his head and laughed. 5 figures appeared in the air. The one at the front was Long Chenhua, followed by Han Bingling and He Lang, as well as the Red Lotus Flame Dragon and the Heavenly Rain Dragon races, super geniuses. Countless dragons looked at them enviously. These 5 people would become influential figures of the dragon race in the future. At the very least, they would have the status of Grand Elders. The red-robed elder waved his sleeve, and a spatial channel appeared in the air. He said, "The top 5, follow me to choose the sacred dragon pond." Lin Chen was extremely curious. He slowly stepped into the spatial channel. The other 4 dragons followed behind him. The spatial channel was filled with silver light. The other 4 dragons didn't dare to get close to Lin Chen. This fellow was too strange. He Lang had already developed a shadow in his heart. "Little fellow, where did you come from? Why have I never heard of your name in the northern desolate region?" the red-robed elder suddenly asked. His expression was calm, and it was impossible to tell what he was thinking. Lin Chen had long since been prepared for this kind of interrogation. He acted as if he didn't care, as if he was participating in a banquet. "I come from Firmament Tower. At the beginning, I was subdued by the Azura race. After the Azura race died in battle, I became a tomb guardian. It was only when an inheritor appeared in the Azura tomb that I was able to remove my seal and return to the desolate prefecture. Only when I learned that the banquet was about to begin did I head to the central region." "Oh? You actually had such a fortuitous encounter?" The red-robed elder's eyes shone. No wonder this child's talent was peerless. So he had followed the Azura race. This was Long Kuen's experience. Lin Chen directly used its experience to brush it off. He didn't arouse the red-robed elder's suspicions at all. "He actually came from Firmament Tower?" muttered Han Bingling. "No wonder this fellow was so powerful. That was one of the human race's territories. Those who could come out from there were definitely experts amongst experts." 2 hours later, they reached the end of the spatial channel. Boom! The dragon's aura was like a tidal wave, suppressing the 5 of them. The 5 of them all felt different types of pressure, and the 4 dragons revealed a panicked expression. "Haha, this is the divine dragon's aura. You don't have to panic. It's your first time here. You'll get used to it soon." The red-robed elder stroked his beard and smiled. As for Lin Chen, he completely sealed his human aura and looked around carefully. This place was gray and silent. The only thing that could be seen was a dragon altar that stood between heaven and earth. The dragon pillars were carved with ancient dragon patterns, and lifelike ancient dragons were sealed within the pillars. Thousands of dragon chains were cast around the dragon altar, crisscrossing each other. In the center of the dragon altar was a blood pool. The 4 sides were carved with dragon heads. When the dragons opened their mouths, a thin stream of blood-colored energy flowed into the blood pool. Lin Chen's pupils trembled. What an abundance of energy! This was the sacred dragon pond. Chapter 674. Next to the dragon altar were the words Dark Shadow Heavenly Dragon. This was the holy dragon pond of the Dark Shadow Heavenly Dragon. Due to the different races that the 5 of you are from, you will be brought to the sacred dragon ponds of 5 different dragon races. You are free to choose one. I'm sure you all know the rules. If you choose a sacred dragon pond of a different race, it means that you will have to join their faction. The red-robed patriarch reminded them seriously, after you choose the holy dragon pond, you will be forced to join the holy dragon pond even if you are of a different race. I hope you will consider carefully. The holy dragon pond of each race contained different energy, but in fact, the holy dragon pond of the 10 great dragon races was suitable for all dragons. For example, the Red Lotus Flame Dragon entering the holy dragon pond of the 10,000-year Black Azure Dragon clan to be baptized was not much different from entering the holy dragon pond of its own race. This was because the ancient holy dragon ancestors had unified and simplified the bloodline inheritance energy. The disadvantage of this method was that it couldn't unleash the full potential of the bloodline. However, it could maximize the potential of all the emerging talents of the dragon races. While everyone nodded, Lin Chun took the opportunity to activate the Golden Eyes Twin technique. Inside the sacred dragon pond, countless bloody energy bubbles could be seen shuttling back and forth like giant dragons. Every drop of energy inside could move mountains, fill seas, and cause mountains and rivers to fall. The energy is very dense. If my Azure Dragon can be baptized, not only will its bloodline attribute increase, but its dragon power will also be greatly enhanced. Its dragon body will be transformed. Lin Chun was exhilarated. This sacred dragon pond was indeed worthy of being the heritage of the 10 great dragon tribes. Perhaps this would be the greatest opportunity in the history of his Azure Dragon clan. By the way, system, can my super-dimensional teleportation enter this independent plane? Lin Chun suddenly asked the system. Answer to the host. Purple tier super-dimensional teleportation can enter as long as the host determines the location. The system's answer gave Lin Chun a crazy and bold idea. Then, the red-robed patriarch continued to lead the team to 4 more holy dragon ponds. There were 5 holy dragon ponds in total. Lin Chun secretly activated the Golden Eyes Twin technique each time. This was because the purple golden eyes could perfectly see which dragon had the most energy from the holy dragon pond. The super-dimensional teleportation talent of the purple tier can fix 6 locations, 3 of which are the spiritual state, the barren state, and the godly land. I might need to use these 3 spatial coordinates at any time, and I also need to maintain an empty spatial coordinate at all times in case of an emergency. In that case, it seems that I can only choose 2 spatial coordinates of the sacred dragon pond at once. Lin Chen's eyes flickered and many thoughts flashed through his mind. His goal this time was to use the super-dimensional teleportation talent to take all the energy of the holy dragon pond. A sacred dragon pond? Not enough. He, Lin Chen, wanted even more. If it weren't for the fact that the other 3 coordinates of the super-dimensional teleportation required him to constantly be on guard against the fake god families, he would have set the coordinates of all 5 holy dragon ponds and teleported them all away. Burglary? What he, Lin Chen, loved to play the most was burglary. Each holy dragon pond was an independent plane. Lin Chen wasn't a dragon ancestor, so he couldn't teleport between them. Among the 5 holy dragon ponds that I've been to, the holy dragon pond of the Red Lotus Flame Dragon clan and the holy dragon pond of the Tianyu Wing Dragon clan have the most energy. While Lin Chun was pondering, the other 4 dragons had finished their selection. All of them only chose the holy dragon pond of their own clan. They didn't plan to join the other dragon clans because there wasn't much difference in whichever holy dragon pond they went to. On the contrary, each holy dragon pond had so much energy that they couldn't absorb it all at once. How about it, Long Chenbua? You're the only one left. Or are you also choosing the holy dragon pond of your clan? The red-robed ancestor turned to look at Lin Chen and suddenly asked. No, I choose the holy dragon pond of the Red Lotus Flame Dragon clan. Consumed 10,000 talent points. Super-dimensional teleportation talent has been set. Located at spatial coordinate number 4. The host can activate it at any time. As soon as he said that, the system screen popped up. The holy dragon pond they were currently in belonged to the Tianyu Wing Dragon clan. After Lin Chen made his choice, the other 4 dragons were shocked. He wanted to join the Red Lotus Flame Dragon clan? The red-robed ancestor's eyes flashed with a profound light as if he wanted to see through Lin Chen. After 2 breaths of silence, Lin Chen spoke. What? Can't I? The red-robed ancestor withdrew his gaze and smiled amiably. Haha, of course there's no problem. In the end, the red-robed ancestor brought Lin Chen back to the holy dragon pond of the Red Lotus Flame Dragon clan and officially activated the holy dragon pond for Lin Chen. In 3 days, the holy dragon pond's energy will be fully activated. At that time, I'll bring you in again. Haha, this time there's a wedding banquet. After attending the banquet, it's about time. The red-robed ancestor waved his sleeves and brought everyone away. Lin Chen's lips curled up slightly. The news that Long Chenbua had chosen the Red Lotus Flame Dragon clan shook the entire central region. No one had expected such a genius of the dragon race to choose the Red Lotus Flame Dragon clan. Had he lost his mind? If he stayed in the 10,000-year profound Azure Dragon clan, he would definitely receive their full support. The higher-ups of the Red Lotus Flame Dragon clan were all dumbfounded. Another peak heavenly genius had fallen from the heavens? The Grand Elders of the 10,000-year profound Azure Dragon clan were so furious that they almost flipped over the battlefield. This little bastard had actually chosen the Red Lotus Flame Dragon clan. What the fuck? Lin Chun ignored the outside world and entered the red-robed ancestor's private room. He began to prepare for his grand plan of showing off. 3 days passed in the blink of an eye. In the central region, the Red Lotus Flame Dragon clan's Flame Mountain Range. The flames here were monstrous. Huge flame mountains rose from the ground, burning for millions of miles. The Dragon Palace at the center of the Flame Mountain Range was dazzling. Countless roars rang out, and powerful auras would occasionally appear in the sky. Today was the wedding banquet of the number 1 genius of the Red Lotus Flame Dragon clan, Mo Tian Yen. Although it was as crowded as a marketplace with many high-level ferocious beasts, it was far less extravagant than a grand ceremony. After all, the top experts of the Dragon clan all had their own important matters to attend to. The wedding banquet of the number 1 genius had gathered 2 peak 7th stage Grand Elders. Their strength was comparable to the early 8th stage and the middle 8th stage. It was quite extravagant. Other than the 2 Grand Elders, there were also 10 7th stage combat emperors and a large number of low and middle 7th stage ferocious beasts. The Flame Palace on the mountain range was tens of thousands of feet tall. Many ferocious beasts sat in the palace, and 2 rows of banquet tables were arranged side by side. Everyone is giving me Mo Tian Yen face by coming here today. Let me toast first. Mo Tian Yen, who was wearing a red robe, raised his cup and drank, causing many high-level ferocious beasts to cheer. Beside him was Yen Qianyun, who was in the absolute space. The energy of the absolute space was about to collapse. At that time, she would be completely exposed. With her cultivation, she might not even have the chance to self-destruct in the face of so many 7th stage dragons. Yen Qianyun was slightly nervous. She quietly peeked at a certain figure in the corner. As for that Long Chunbo, he was sitting in the corner and drinking by himself. He was holding 2 books in one hand and reading them seriously. He didn't seem to care at all. There was a line of words on the cover of the 2 books, Actor's Self-Improvement and the 10 Most Coquettish Moves of Dodiju. First move, the correct way to pour cappuccino. Second move, a super double move. Third move, silently make a fortune. Fourth move, can't even afford to ask for 2. Fifth move, 3 carry 1. Sixth move, a single show. Chapter 675. Is he still not going to take action at this time? Could it be that he will only be satisfied after seeing me being humiliated by those dragons after the absolute space disintegrates? Yen Qianyun pursed her white teeth, feeling indignant. However, she still believed in Lin Chen in her heart and waited quietly. However, she did not know why, but when she saw his leisurely face as if he did not care about her, there was an inexplicable frustration in the depths of her heart. Dragon Clan, Dragon Tower. In a secret chamber, there was a very unique mystic enlightening chi in a blood pool that flowed like a firefly. It was as if it was connected to the 9 heavens and was different from the rest. In the blood pool, 3 cold and awe-inspiring figures stood proudly. Behind them were the figures of 3 ancestors of the Dragon Clan. The blood of 165 fortune tellers. Not bad. The eagle-eyed old man's gaze was stern. If Lin Chen was here, He might be able to recognize that this person was Long Can, the ancestor of one of the 6 fake god families that he had fought before. I hope the true god will be satisfied. The other 2 laughed sinisterly. The ancestor of the dragon clan behind them frowned, and said indifferently, "According to the rules, we have already collected the fortune teller's blood essence that you requested. When are you going to hand it over? We are only in a cooperative relationship. If you do not comply, I guarantee that you will not be able to leave the barren state." At the end of his words, his killing intent was awe-inspiring. "Haha, don't worry. Our great true god is about to descend. How can we owe you a favor? You can rest assured. Our dragon clan does not intend to submit to you. Don't talk about true god in front of me." The other 2 ancestors sneered. Long Can's pair of sharp eagle eyes suddenly turned to the 3 of them and laughed. "Why, don't you want to become an 8th-level holy dragon?" As soon as he said that, the atmosphere in the secret chamber suddenly quietened down. The Flame Mountain range was filled with singing and dancing. At this time, the palace was already a pool of wine and a forest of meat. Low roars could be heard everywhere. Many half-human, half-beast, high-level ferocious beasts walked in the palace. They were drunk and smelled of alcohol. They were so drunk that they staggered and swayed as they walked. The dragon race was lascivious by nature. Most of them liked to enjoy themselves and collect treasures. A few heavenly rain-winged dragons walked up to the head of the hall and put their arms around Emotianyen's shoulders. They lifted their wine jugs and pointed their chins at Yen Qianyun, who was in the absolute space. "Hey, Tianyen, this beautiful human girl is really not bad. Won't you give us some soup to drink? Right, if you share it with us, we will also share the human songstress that we captured from Blood Province a few days ago. I'm sure you'll enjoy it so much that you don't want to go back." The heavenly imperial winged dragons, who were half human and half dragon, laughed evilly. Emotianyen drank a pot of wine with them, then wiped his mouth and laughed lewdly. "No problem, but that's on the premise that I have enough fun first. When the time comes we can switch. Ah, let's have a feast of meat. Ah, good brother, you are indeed a good brother. Come, 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 let's drink again." Yen Qianyun heard everything. Her face was as cold as frost. She coldly scolded, "Shameless! A bunch of beasts." One of the heavenly imperial winged dragon was called Luo Sha. She was a genius of the same generation as Emotianyen, and her strength was second only to the former. Luo Sha rubbed her chin and laughed evilly. "Shameless? Then don't cry out too happily when you're under us. Ah! Don't worry, these human women all have tough mouth. Once they see our true strength, they'll be obedient." Emotianyen and the many heavenly Yu-winged dragons were speaking extremely vulgar words while drinking with the many heavenly Yu-winged dragons. Those unpleasant obscenities made Yen Qianyun tremble with anger. Tears flickered in her eyes. If she couldn't leave this place alive, she swore that she would pay any price to die so that she wouldn't let these monsters sully her. Long Chenbo slowly closed the book, and the killing intent in his dragon eyes disappeared in an instant. Emotianyen, the other one is called Luo Sha, right? I'll let you die very rhythmically. Bang! The sudden explosion shook countless high-tier dire beasts. What was going on? Someone had gone crazy from drinking? This was Emotianyen's wedding banquet. Who dared to mess around? Emotianyen's eyes instantly became extremely sharp, and he immediately protected absolute space. The 2 Grand Elders' dragon eyes shone with a strange light as they suddenly stood up. A hole suddenly appeared in the ceiling of the palace. A silver-robed figure appeared like a ghost on the dragon throne in the main hall. The silver robe fluttered, and the youth's deep eyes seemed to contain the sea of stars. His face was handsome, and there was a cynical smile on his face from beginning to end. Yen Qianyun's beautiful eyes trembled. He really came. But why wasn't it Long Chenbo? Did she recognize him wrongly? Human race? Who are you? How dare you barge into the Red Lotus Flame Dragon tribe? the two Grand Elders' figures flashed, and they fiercely protected Mo Tianyan as they shouted sternly. The most handsome person in the 9 states, Lin Chun of the spiritual state, is here to pay a visit. The youth smiled, and everyone was shocked. Lin Chun of the spiritual state? Although the news in the barren state wasn't as good as the other states, they had heard of Lin Chen's name. It was said that even the fake god families suffered losses in the hands of this kid. Moreover, how did he sneak in here? Some high-level ferocious beasts sucked in cold air. The Red Lotus Flame Dragon tribe had many barriers, and they were very sensitive to humans. Even an 8th or 9th level combat emperor would find it difficult to sneak in here without making a sound. Lin Chen whistled at Yan Qianyun, who was in the absolute space, and laughed mockingly. "Darling Qianyun, I'm not late, am I?" Yan Qianyun spat lightly. This indecent guy, how could he joke at this critical moment? Seeing Yan Qianyun and Lin Chen looking at each other affectionately, Mo Tianyan's expression turned gloomy, as if he had eaten shit. "Your Excellency Lin Chen, why are you here?" A Grand Elder sternly questioned with a cautious expression because he couldn't see through Lin Chen's true cultivation. "Acting tough, robbing and snatching women?" Lin Chen flicked his fingernails and laughed. Mo Tianyan's expression instantly became extremely gloomy. Bang! A loud sound rang out and the palace shook. A green-robed youth suddenly jumped in front of Lin Chen. His face was filled with anger, and he even hysterically locked onto Lin Chen with overflowing, killing intent. "It's you? You're Lin Chen?" That person was Long Chenbua. Lin Chen slightly raised his brows. "What, you don't like it?" Long Chenbua crazily questioned. "You're the one who kidnapped my wife back then and humiliated her for 49 days. I'm going to fucking kill you today." F***ck. This human Lin Chen had this kind of fetish? Many ferocious beasts' brows twitched. Humiliated for 49 days? How fierce. Rumble. When the two met, it was as if they were enemies. Long Chenbua suddenly transformed into a 10,000-year profound azure dragon, and a profound light blade directly shot out. Bang! Lin Chen backhanded and smashed the profound light blade. He spun in the air and released the profound azure dragon domain. He raised his claw and attacked. Chapter 676. Bang! 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 Rumble! The terrifying shock waves from the collision soared into the heavens, forcefully tearing apart the entire palace. A huge battle broke out between the two sides. All the high-rank beasts retreated and revealed their true forms. It was a mess. Who would have thought that such a calamity would befall the banquet? Two Grand Elders protected Mo Tianyan. The other elders exchanged glances and gradually transformed into their true bodies, wanting to help Long Chenbua. No matter what, Long Chenbua was still the chosen genius of the Red Lotus Flaming Dragon tribe. They couldn't let anything happen to him. One man and one dragon were extremely fast. The range of the battle continued to expand. Who knew how many high-rank beasts were affected? They turned into two streaks of light, one white and one green, crisscrossing in the sky. The elders couldn't provide support in time. They were all stunned. Even Yan Qianyun didn't know what was going on. Long Chenbua was fighting Lin Chen? Wasn't that the same as fighting himself? Or did they really mistake him for someone else? What shocked the elders was that Long Chenbua's true strength was so great. He was almost at the level of a mid-7th level combat emperor. 10,000-year profound light blade. The green dragon roared and waved its claws. A 10,000-foot-long light blade slashed down. 6th layer transformation, cutting force. Lin Chen smiled evilly. His cultivation base had temporarily advanced to the late 6th layer of the Combat Emperor realm. His 5 fingers aimed at the profound light blade and struck out. The blade-like chi energy cut through the Azure Dragon's profound light blade and fiercely struck Long Chenbua, causing the dragon's scales to burst. Bang! Poochie! Long Chenbua coughed up blood and turned into a green light. Lin Chun turned into a whirlwind and his right leg smashed into the dragon's body. Bang! Slash! A terrifying shockwave spread out. The cutting force cut through Long Chenhua's defense. Dragon scales cracked and dragon blood spurted out. Long Chenhua was sent flying by Lin Chen's kick. He fell to the ground and crushed a few mountains. All the elders' expressions changed. In just a few rounds, Long Chenhua, who was comparable to an early 7th-level combat emperor, was killed? His life and death were unknown? Brother Chen, I'm going to turn your Red Lotus Flame Dragon clan upside down today. Lin Chen grinned hideously. His body turned into a beam of moonlight and rushed towards Mo Tianyin aggressively. Many of the elders' expressions suddenly changed. Everyone, surround and annihilate him. His strength is close to that of an 8th-level combat emperor. Don't let him be impudent. The two grand elders who were protecting Mo Tianyin shouted sternly. All the Dragon Clan elders turned their attention to Lin Chen. This kid was too troublesome. Since the beginning of time, no living creature had ever been able to sneak into the central area of the dragonkind without making a sound, not to mention the core area of the Red Lotus Fire Dragon clan. It was as if he had appeared out of thin air, and no one had detected him. This kind of method was too shocking. They must be eradicated as soon as possible. Quick, run! This kid is too strong, retreat. He's not an existence that we can match. We'll lose our lives if we're too slow. The earth trembled, and the sky turned into countless huge shadows that covered the sky. A large number of high-level ferocious beasts fled frantically, not caring about the situation at the scene. With Lin Chen's strength, he could kill them with a raise of his hand. His strength was close to that of an 8th-level combat emperor. In any place in the 9 prefectures, his strength was at the top of the pyramid. Blood devour. The tens of thousands of feet long blood ray emitted a bone-gnawing sound as it slashed towards Lin Chen. Red Lotus Flame. The sea of fire descended and turned into a pillar of fire. 10 elders and 2 grand elders attacked Lin Chen from all sides. Cutting force. 8 desolate finger. When the 8-colored energy finger and the dragon-like force swept out, a battle that shocked the entire Red Lotus Flame Dragon clan started. Many of the higher-ups of the dragonkind who were in seclusion or carrying out tasks felt the aura of this human in the blazing mountain range. Lin Chen didn't seem to be afraid of death. Each of his attacks was unstoppable. He forcefully blocked the 10 elders and 2 grand elders. But what the dragonkind didn't know was that when almost everyone's attention was focused on Lin Chen, the real body of Long Chenhua that had fallen into the abyss suddenly trembled and turned transparent at lightning speed, disappearing in an extremely strange manner. Consumed 130,000 points of mid-grade rune energy. Heavenly Invisibility rune successfully activated. Aura has been concealed. Duration, 3 seconds. Cooldown, 40 seconds. The moment the system screen popped up, Lin Chen issued a command. System, activate super-dimensional teleportation. Teleport to space 4. Whoosh! A streak of light broke through the space above his head, and the Azure Dragon's real body disappeared. When he reappeared, he was already in front of the ancient dragon altar. It was the Red Lotus Flame Dragon clan's sacred dragon pond. With my acting skills, I'm worth at least 100 million. If I don't get a few Golden Cup awards for Best Male Lead, I'd be too embarrassed to show my face. Long Chenhua laughed mischievously. He really was an actor. From the start, it had all been Lin Chen acting. He wanted Lin Chen to kill Long Chenhua. He didn't want anyone to suspect him. If Lin Chen had descended and started a chaotic battle in the Flame Mountain range, then Long Chenhua of unknown origins would have immediately disappeared. That would have inevitably raised suspicions. But if Long Chenhua was killed or heavily injured by Lin Chen at the start, then it would be very difficult to make Long Chenhua die. His entire body began to burn with brilliant purple flames. This was the true Flame Purple Phoenix's bloodline ability. Purple flame recovery could stimulate one's chi and blood to rapidly heal injuries. At this time, the sacred dragon pond was constantly bubbling with blood. The surging energy was like a river of stars. Even the slightest bit of it was enough to destroy mountains and rivers. Next, the azure dragon leaped into the air and entered the sacred dragon pond. Boom! Rumble, rumble! The energy within the sacred dragon pond instantly began to boil. This kind of feeling was like thousands of dragons were charging at the azure dragon, directly destroying mountains and rivers. The collision caused the azure dragon's chi and blood to go berserk. "Suppress for me!" Lin Chun shouted, activating the winged dragon bloodline within the azure dragon's body. The moment the two bloodlines were activated, the energy within the sacred dragon pond began to boil even more. This terrifying aura caused Lin Chen's consciousness to rapidly leave the azure dragon's body. He transformed into a silver-robed figure that stepped outside the sacred dragon pond. This was Lin Chen's main body. Lin Chen said with some lingering fear, "So this is the sacred dragon pond's bloodline baptism. It really is terrifying. It's the same as tearing off a person's flesh, blood, bones, and skin and then reassembling them. That kind of pain, oh my God!" What Lin Chen didn't know was that the sacred dragon pond would temper a person's body according to their potential. The azure dragon's innate talent was already one of the top in the history of the dragon race. In addition, Lin Chen had activated the other winged dragon bloodline. With two bloodlines in his body, it could be said to be heaven-defying. In other words, such a monstrous genius had never been born in the history of the dragon race. Two bloodlines perfectly combined into one, each extremely pure. This kind of innate talent was unparalleled in history. The sacred dragon pond's energy would be activated to an unprecedented level. Therefore, the energy within the sacred dragon pond reached an unprecedented state of boiling. Chapter 677. Qi. Qi. A blood-red mist was emitted. If not for the azure dragon's lack of consciousness, the pain would have tormented any powerful being to death. It was no different from throwing oneself into a mountain of swords and a sea of fire to temper oneself, but the effect was also immediate. 720,000 dragon veins, it will reach 730,000 very soon. What a fast speed! Lin Chen was overjoyed. The system screen kept popping up. Obtain 980 Yinglong Bloodline Attribute Points, 1150 Azure Dragon Bloodline Attribute Points, 1290 Yinglong Bloodline Attribute Points, 1400 Azure Dragon Bloodline Attribute Points. It did not stop, it did not stop. Not only were the Dragon Emperor's dragon veins expanding rapidly, but the bloodline attribute points were also increasing rapidly. The sacred dragon pond belonged to the dragon clan's land of inheritance. If not for the Dragon Emperor's special method to open it, even a late 9th level combat emperor would not be able to enter. At this moment, none of the higher-ups of the Dragon Clan had expected that Lin Chen, a human, would be able to sneak into the sacred dragon pond and steal its energy. At this rate, the two bloodline attribute points will have a chance to break through to 700,000 points. Lin Chen clicked his tongue in amazement. His lips curled up as he sat cross-legged beside the sacred dragon pond. The first phase of the plan has begun, and the second phase has begun. It will take some time to absorb the sacred dragon pond's bloodline baptism. I have to attract all the firepower outside and make as much of a ruckus as possible. Otherwise, once the Dragon Clan's old ancestor finds out about the sacred dragon pond, all my plans will be for naught. Currently, Lin Chen had to avoid facing a 9th-level combat emperor. Lin Chen's spiritual consciousness was transferred to the 4 illusionary doppelgangers that he had prepared beforehand. The second round begin. In the blazing mountain range, the heavens fell and the earth cracked. This was the first large-scale destruction in the territory of the Red Lotus Flaming Dragon Clan. No one had expected that a human would dare to attack this place. In the void, within 100,000 miles of the blazing mountain range, 12 gigantic dragons were flying around, surrounding a tiny figure that was as small as an ant. With the purple phoenix wings, Lin Chen's speed was astonishing. Even though he could transform into a purple flame at any time, he was still being suppressed and retreating. His injuries were accumulating at a speed visible to the naked eye. This Lin Chen is only SOSO. Mo Tianyan sneered disdainfully. Luo Sha, who was beside Mo Tianyan, laughed evilly and said, "Your strength is not bad, but your brain is not good. With such strength, you dare to barge into the territory of the Red Lotus Flaming Dragon. You should know your limits. If you underestimate him, you might pay a heavy price." At this moment, the absolute beauty within the transparent cube smiled sweetly. Her beauty was unparalleled, and the two of them were distracted for a moment. Tsk. Bang! A vast dragon aura exploded in the air. Lin Chen's figure was blasted apart by the two Grand Elders. Although his cultivation was at the middle stage of the 6th rank, his battle prowess was at most close to the early stage of the 8th rank. No matter how hard he fought, his opponents were still 10 Fire Dragon Elders and 2 Grand Elders who were at the middle stage and early stage of the 8th stage. Wait a minute, something's wrong. All of a sudden, one of the Grand Elders cried out in shock. The space where Lin Chen had been blasted apart did not leave any trace. It was as if he had evaporated into thin air. Almost at the moment the other party noticed the abnormality, the Dark Calamity battle aura spun like a whirlpool. The space was distorted and collapsed. Two figures appeared beside Mo Tianyan and Luo Sha like ghosts. The situation happened so suddenly that no one expected it. Mo Tianyan's hair stood on end. He instinctively struck out with his claw, 750 dragon power points, sweeping mountains and rivers. Luo Sha panicked. His palm was like a knife, slashing at the afterimage not far behind him. Charge penetration rune. Ultimate moment. 8 desolation finger. Cutting force of 7 blades. The two elusive Lin Chen's bodies were surrounded by a green glow. They attacked fiercely, and energy fingers fell behind Luo Sha. The cutting force was like a dragon. It cut open Mo Tianyan's dragon claw, and dragon blood splattered everywhere. Bang! An earth-shattering explosion resounded through the sky. Mo Tianyan's dragon arm was blown away. His original body was revealed. He was covered in blood and looked like a mess. All the elders were dumbfounded. Mo Tianyan had activated 750,000 dragon veins. With 5 million dragon power points and his foundation, he could even fight against a late 7th level combat emperor. Even if he could not defeat an early 8th level combat emperor with the strength of his dragon body, it was impossible for his arm to be cut open so easily. There are 2 more Lin Chens? No. These 2 are stronger than the Lin Chen just now. Did this kid hold back his strength? Save young Master Tianyan. While the elders were still in shock, the 2 Grand Elders felt that something was wrong. They turned into a stream of light and rushed toward Mo Tianyan. Rip! An extreme sonic boom, and the sound of wind breaking was heard. The shadow of the arrow flashed with lightning. A dark lightning arrow appeared in the sky, spinning a turbulent and tearing wind vortex. It crossed the sky at an extremely fast speed. It only took a moment to cross the distance of 10,000 miles. The hearts of the 2 Grand Elders trembled, and a sense of impending doom welled up within them. There's still an ambush. It's an attack from a top 7th level weapon. Not good. The 2 of them instantly turned into their dragon forms. When they wanted to maintain their strongest state to take the arrow head-on, a grayish-white talisman fell from the sky. Slow talisman, heavenly invisibility talisman. Mirror Moon Imperial God. Rumble. The space froze. The 2 dragons were sealed and their movements paused. All the chi and blood in their body and the power of more than 800,000 dragon veins were sealed. This strange attack seemed to have been planned in advance. What was even more unexpected to the two supreme elders was that a mirror moon slash that could divide heaven and earth instantly appeared out of thin air and instantly slashed at the head of the second supreme elder. Too fast. It was too strange. There was no time to react. The latter was completely stunned. What? Rip. Bang. It only took a moment. The light of the arrow fell like the setting sun and pierced through the red lotus flaming dragon. It was delayed by the slow talisman and did not have many defensive methods. It was hit directly and the light of the arrow pierced through its body. The 10 grand elders who did not react took in a breath of cold air. Elder Emohong was comparable to a middle 8th level combat emperor. How could he be pierced through by an arrow? He was seriously injured. Crack crack. Rip. Bones cracked and exploded. Dragon blood spurted out like a pillar. What made the 10 grand elders' scalps numb was that the other grand elder, Mo Yong, who was comparable to an early 8th level combat emperor, exploded with dragon blood. Hundreds of attribute light balls, most of which were mainly made of chi and blood, rolled in the void. He was beheaded with a single slash. Dragon slaying with a single slash. That was Grand Elder Mo Yong, who had 810,000 dragon veins. He was one of the top experts of the Red Lotus Flaming Dragon clan. Even a late 8th level combat emperor would find it difficult to kill him in a single strike. The advantage of a beast was its innate strength. It did not have the strong civilization inheritance like the human race. However, their vitality was unquestionable. Even if it was an opponent who was 1 or 2 levels higher, it was almost impossible to kill them in a single strike. Lin Chen's clone, who was standing on the peak of the Flame Mountain, could not help but reveal a hint of surprise. So powerful! The heavenly invisibility talisman's effect is not inferior to the slow talisman. Chapter 678. His dragon eyes trembled violently as he saw the young man holding the bow on top of a cloud 30,000 miles away. Mo Hong spat out blood and said in a trembling voice, Are you kidding me? For Lin Chen? The heavily injured dragon body fell down and crushed a few mountains. Although Mo Hong avoided being hit in his vital parts, the arrow caused him to lose his ability to move and fight. With the 25% penetration, he was only a hair's breadth away from death. Even Lin Chen didn't expect that the heavenly invisibility talisman would have such a terrifying effect when used in a sneak attack. When he used his full strength, the Mirror Moon Imperial God, there was no sign of its trajectory. With the help of the slowing talisman, it was like a sudden disaster that no creature could defend against. If a sneak attack can increase one's combat strength by 120%, then the heavenly invisibility talisman combined with the charging talisman, the penetration talisman, and the slowing talisman would increase one's combat strength by more than 1,000%. That Red Lotus Flaming Dragon, under normal circumstances, even if I used the 9 Calamities star, I might not be able to kill it in one move. Lin Chen's expression was agitated. This was another F** King Trump card. In the future, when he used a powerful weapon, he would use the heavenly invisibility talisman to hide its aura and attack the enemy silently. That feeling was guaranteed to be awesome. Quick, protect Elder Mo Hong quickly. The remaining 10 dragon elders panicked. Lin Chen's combat strength was terrifying and strange. Either he didn't appear at all, or there were 4 of them. Each of them had the combat strength of a mid-8th layer combat emperor. Other than the patriarch coming out of seclusion, no one could suppress him. However, even though Mo Tianyan was the #1 genius of the Dragon Clan, it was still difficult to invite the old ancestors to the wedding banquet. Rumble! The wind from the fist swept through the mountains and rivers. Countless mountains were shattered into dust. The wind blew the energy flames in the mountains and turned into a flaming tornado in the sky. Bang! Bang! 2 huge dragons fell down. Their skin and flesh were lacerated and their dragon scales were broken. They fell to the ground and fainted. It was Luo Sha and Mo Tianyan. The two number 1 geniuses were suppressed by Lin Chen's doppelgangers. They couldn't fight back at all. Lin Chen, let's retreat quickly. The Red Lotus Flame Dragon Clan has already dispatched their experts. After dispelling absolute space, Yan Qianyun anxiously held onto Lin Chen's palm with a worried expression. Hee, don't worry, we still have fun. Lin Chen's avatar chuckled and flicked his finger. The Wood Tribulation Battle Chi materialized and bound the two giant dragons. Lin Chen narrowed his eyes. That Mo Hong looked like he was ready to die at any moment. If the fight continued, he would probably self-destruct. The self-destruction of a top-class 7 dire beast was no small matter. The other two doppelgangers took a few steps forward and collected all the attribute light balls dropped by the two Grand Elders, as well as Mo Yong's beast core. Obtain 19 million Qi blood energy, 4, 5 million Qi blood energy, 21. 5 million Qi blood energy, 480 points of fire energy, 490 points of fire energy, 60,000 rune energy, 40,000 talent points, 50,000 heavenly Dao points, 25 million Qi blood energy. Lin Chen's dragon power surged. His pure strength broke through 6 million dragon power points, and with the support of the godly strength user, it suddenly shot up to 6,990,000. Boom! The aura of a giant dragon's roar came from Lin Chen's 4 avatars, and the corners of his mouth curled up slightly. The stronger his pure strength, the more powerful his 7 ultimate force would be. As expected of a top-class 7 dire beast, it increased my dragon power by hundreds of thousands in one go. It easily broke through the limit. If I kill a few more, and with the help of the ungodly strength user, I might have a chance to reach 7 million dragon power points. The many elders of the dragon tribe watched as Lin Chen took away the beast cores. They did not dare to stop him, and could only surround Elder Mo Hong to protect him. Go back and tell those old farts of the Red Lotus Flaming Dragon and the Heavenly Imperial Winged Dragon that if they still want their 2 dog *T prodigies, then we'll meet 3 days later at the Hell Volcano. Remember, it's not time yet. If they dare to chase after us, I'll directly kill those 2 dog *T prodigies. Lin Chen laughed heartily. The other 3 avatars tied up Luo Sha and Mo Tianyan and left with Yan Qianyun. None of the elders dared to stop them. With the strength that Lin Chen had just displayed, he could easily kill those 2 prodigies in an instant. They were the future pillars of the Dragon Clan, and they could not bear the consequences. Go back and tell the ancestral patriarchs that the barren state is not going to be peaceful. Mo Hong shouted, and his eyes flashed. From the various unknown methods and strength that Lin Chen had displayed, he did not doubt that this young man who dared to challenge the God family had the strength to shake the Red Lotus Flaming Dragon Clan. Right, where did Long Chenbua go? An elder suddenly looked around in confusion, his expression still a little shaken. That kid seems to have been severely injured by Lin Chen. He might be on the verge of death. Maybe he retreated somewhere to heal. Ignore him and inform the ancestral patriarchs first. What? Lin Chen of the spiritual state invaded? Tianyan was kidnapped? What are you doing? The human girl that Tianyan fancied is from the spiritual state? This kid dares to break into the territory of the Red Lotus Flaming Dragon Clan. How did he sneak in? In the secret chamber of the Dragon Tower, several powerful ancestral patriarchs questioned sternly. He seems to have a very powerful cloning secret technique. The 3 elders of the Dragon Clan who were reporting the situation were shocked and reported all of Lin Chen's methods respectfully. His clone technique allows him to attack stealthily, and he possesses the secret art of freezing space. His clone technique is indeed as powerful as the rumors say. It is said that he has a special spatial transfer technique. Even those from the godly land could not stop him. Even Luo Sha was taken away. Inform the Tianyu Wing Dragon Clan. This matter is not so simple. We alone might not be able to stop this kid. Then, what about the sacred dragon pond ceremony? Let's put it off for now. Now is not the time to pay attention to the bloodline baptism of those little guys. None of the masters of the Red Lotus Flaming Dragon Clan knew that they had just brushed shoulders with Lin Chen. At this moment, Lin Chen was in the sacred dragon pond, absorbing the energy of the sacred dragon pond together with his azure dragon. Beside the sacred dragon pond, Lin Chen opened his eyes, exhaled, and chuckled. The second round is over. Next, I will absorb all the energy of the 2 sacred dragon ponds. Lin Chen's 4 clones rushed out of the territory of the Red Lotus Flaming Dragon Clan as fast as they could. The next afternoon, inside the Hell Volcano, Mo Tianyan and Luo Sha gradually regained consciousness. They saw nothing but darkness, and the pain in their bodies told them that what happened yesterday was real. Brother Tianyan and I were defeated by that kid? Were we kidnapped? Luo Sha, who couldn't see anything, panicked. Even her dragon breath was blocked. At this moment, a pleasant voice asked curiously, "What are you going to do with them?" It was Yan Qinyun's voice. Then, Lin Chen's voice was heard. "Fry them." Mo Tianyan and Luo Sha's scalps went numb, and their hearts sank. What the F***ck? Rape them? Are you F***king human? Chapter 679. Crazy. Crazy, crazy. He must be F***king crazy. Luo Sha and Mo Tianyan wailed in their hearts, twisting their dragon bodies and struggling. We are male dragons, and male dragons at that. You, a man, want to rape us? Even storytellers don't dare to brag like this. At this time, Yan Qianyun, who was as innocent as a curious baby, spoke slowly, as if she had returned to her 17-year-old self. Rape? But Lin Chen, don't you like water? The 2 dragon geniuses felt their scalps go numb, and they shivered from their dragon tails to their heads. What? Brother Chen, please be a human. We don't have much water. We really don't have much water. What kind of devil is this? Crossing races and genders, and raping as soon as they meet? It was no wonder that Long Chen Bo had wanted to fight with this bastard as soon as they met. Compared to this legendary monster, Lin Feng, their dragon race was practically insignificant. They couldn't even be compared. At this time, Lin Chen's serious voice echoed in the 2 dragons' ears, full of seriousness. Aya, it's just a bit of water. It doesn't matter how much water there is. Just squeeze it a little. The key is its meat. Is it compact? Is it tender? Is it smooth? Is it able to create textures when it is rubbed and flipped? Is it able to absorb the essence without bleeding? Is it able to improve the quality of its body? This is the key. What? The 2 dragons kept struggling like hysterical beasts. They were terrified, cowardly, and terrified. Crystal-clear tears fell from their eyes and dripped to the ground, condensing into a faint dragon jade. Crying? The 2 famous peerless geniuses in the history of the 10 great dragon clans, as well as the prodigies of their generation, were the overlords of the barren state, and were even the pinnacle of cultivators outside of the 9 states, who had trampled on countless weak beings, were actually crying at this moment. Mo Tianyan's mouth trembled and cold sweat poured down. Luo Sha's teeth chattered, like a criminal about to be executed. No, it was 1,000 times more terrifying than the guillotine. It was 2F***king terrifying. At least the guillotine would be faster, and it would be much more satisfying to kill directly. What the hell was this tender? And it was F***king tight? It sounded too horrifying. Most importantly, he had to create textures? What the F***ck do I have to do to get the texture? And it wasn't bleeding? What's more, it had to absorb the essence and improve its quality. Upgrade your head. How was he supposed to sublimate? I know what you're talking about. How are you going to get promoted? Wow. Mama, I want to go home. Kill me with one strike. I don't want to live anymore. The two geniuses roared crazily in their hearts. Their dragon mouths were blocked by something huge, and they couldn't make any sound. They could only make sobbing noises. Wow, you're quite knowledgeable in this area. How do you usually have time to study this? How did you come up with all this? Yan Qianyun turned into a fangirl of worship. Her words were full of admiration for Lin Fan. Of course, it's actual combat. Real experience is summed up in actual combat. Every time I do something like this, I will seriously record it down and plan for myself. Every time I'm done, I will make a good note and make a year-end summary. Improve the shortcomings and add the advantages. Along the way, I've done at least 800, if not 1,000 times. In order to increase the variability, I always choose the male meat because it's more challenging. The toughness of the meat is also more varied. Lin Chen's words caused Luo Sha and Mo Tianyan to completely collapse. How the F***ck could he make a record of this? And plan for himself? What F***king plan for? The two geniuses only had one thought in their minds. In the history of the Dragon Clan, any tyrant, pervert, or evil legend was a pile of F***king trash compared to this guy. They were just a bunch of grandsons. They weren't even fit to carry Lin Fan's shoes. Improve the shortcomings and add the advantages? This thing had advantages and disadvantages? The most incredible thing was that it could be used for a year-end summary? The most terrifying thing was that he did it thousands of times? And he specifically chose the male meat? Too cruel. Too cruel. Crazy, he was definitely not human. He was the F***king ultimate pervert. Yan Qianyun asked again, then do you have any secret recipes when you do this? Lin Chen slapped his thigh. The two geniuses were so shocked that they were on tenterhooks. Of course I do. Look at this spear of mine. It's covered with my exclusive cream essence. It can make the meat soft and smooth. It's guaranteed to be delicious, F***ck. What kind of sh**t spear is that? What is it covered with? Then when you encounter a bottleneck, have you ever considered doing something else? You always do this. Don't you get tired of it? Yan Qianyun asked again. Lin Fan's voice sounded serious as he sighed. How can I get tired of it? It's a blessing to be able to find something you like the most in your life and have the opportunity to spend time and energy on it. The two geniuses instantly quieted down. They were completely dumbfounded. Turns out that the thing you like the most in your life is this kind of thing. Lin Chen, you are not alone. You are the peak of all the perverts in the 9 prefectures. The two geniuses of the dragon race were twitching all over. As their bodies twitched, white foam came out of their mouth. They had completely fainted from fright. Perhaps in their eyes, death was an incomparably blissful thing. To these two geniuses, it was a release. They had the courage to face death, but they did not have the courage to face Lin Chen, because they did not dare to imagine what they would have to face next. It was to give this Master Lin a year-end summary. How crazy was that? This had completely exceeded the bottom line of their psychological tolerance. Outside the valley, a dark shadow appeared quietly like a bat under the night sky and disappeared quietly. Lin Chen, who had set up a bonfire, raised his eyebrows. He ignored them and continued to fry the dragon meat on the bonfire. He chuckled, but a trace of coldness flashed through his heart. How dare you touch my Lin Chen's people? Today, I will let these two F***king geniuses know what it means to beg for death, but not be able to beg for life. If Lin Chen had not directly attacked the enemy and saved Yan Qianyun, she would have been humiliated to an unimaginable degree by Mo Tianyan and Luo Sha. With her strength, she could not even self-destruct in front of such strong cultivators. In this regard, Lin Chen did not feel sorry for these two people. He wanted them to pay a price worse than death. Against his enemies, Lin Chen had never been soft-hearted. In the Dragon Tower, many strong cultivators of the dragon race had gathered. Is he really staying in the hell volcano? What scheme is this brat up to? Could it be an ambush? That's not very likely. It's fine if he can sneak in here alone, but I don't believe that he can bring a large group of strong cultivators to sneak into our territory. No matter what scheme he has, when the strong cultivators of the Tianyu winged dragon race arrive, our two races will join forces and we will not be afraid of this brat. Kill him. The territories of the top 10 dragon races were extremely vast. Even if the top cultivators were to send a message, it would take a certain amount of time for them to arrive, let alone a round trip. The Barren State was the largest in the 9 states. Its area was close to the combined area of 2 large states. The dragon race alone occupied more than 50% of the land, which was equivalent to the size of the spiritual state. Although the top 10 dragon races of the Barren State had many strong cultivators, the number of strong cultivators that could rival the battle emperors could even rival the human battle emperors of 4 large states. Chapter 680. However, the territories of the 10 great dragon clans were complex and intertwined. It would take a long time for them to act as one. They could only gather the Tianyu winged dragon to face Lin Chen together. The next day after Lin Chen's situation was reported, and the third day after Lin Chen kidnapped Mo Tianyan and Tianyan. In the sky above the dragon pagoda, a crack appeared in the space. With a boom, waves of energy came out from the crack. 10 stars with an overwhelming aura came out from the crack. What happened, Mo Tianming? How long has it been since my son came to your place? A middle-aged man with ice-blue dragon horns and silver-white dragon scale armor asked in a deep voice. What does it have to do with me? Go find that Lin Chen from the spiritual state. My Tianyan was also kidnapped by him. The red-haired man standing at the top of the dragon pagoda snorted. He was the current patriarch of the Red Lotus Flame Dragon clan, Mo Tianming. The blue-horned man frowned. It's that Lin Chen from the spiritual state again. Recently, there have been many rumors about him in the 9 state. I would like to see how capable he is today. Don't talk nonsense. My people are all here. If your people have no problems, let's set off immediately. Mo Tianming led a dozen elders and flew into the sky. All of them were experts, and the weakest of them was comparable to an elder in the late 7th level. There were 4 peak 7th level beasts that could match an 8th level combat emperor, including Mo Tianming himself, an old ancestor, and 2 9th level combat emperors. There were 6 peak 7th level beasts. On the Tianyu winged dragon clan's side, there was only 1 9th level combat emperor, 5 8th level combat emperors, and 4 late 7th level combat emperors. Because both sides knew of Lin Chen's strength, and because it was related to the development of the future bloodline of both clans, they were basically all experts at the top of the pyramid. The Tianyu winged dragon clan's experts followed closely behind. Everyone's target was the Hell Volcano at the border of the Red Lotus Flame Dragon clan's territory. In the Sacred Dragon Pond where the Tianyu winged dragon clan was. Roar! Roar! Coo! Coo! The Dragon Emperor in the Sacred Dragon Pond swayed his tail and soared into the sky. His entire body flowed with azure light, and green light rushed into the clouds. Terrifying and deep killing intent flashed in the dragon eyes. Every dragon scale on the Dragon Emperor's body glowed with a brilliant dragon's breath. His aura was like that of a wild dragon coming into being, overlooking billions of living beings. Boom! Lin Chen, who was sitting cross-legged beside the Sacred Dragon Pond, suddenly opened his eyes. Draconic light flashed, and draconic chi coiled above his head. There was a vague image of the draconic race's ruins being destroyed, calming the spring and autumn seas. Lin Chen let out a long breath and withdrew all of his aura into his body. It's done. In less than 3 days, I've just finished absorbing the energy of the 2 sacred dragon ponds. I didn't expect that my main body would be able to absorb the energy of the sacred dragon ponds with the help of the Azure Dragon bloodline. He couldn't hide the surprise in his eyes. He originally estimated that he would need more time to go through this bloodline baptism. He didn't expect that after activating the Azure Dragon bloodline, he could use the Azure Dragon's body to transfer to his main body and also absorb the energy of the sacred dragon pond. This was probably the first time in the history of the dragon race that a creature other than the dragon race had received the baptism of the sacred dragon pond. Now, the energy of the two sacred dragon ponds had completely dried up. It would be difficult to condense enough energy to baptize a super dragon race member for at least 10,000 years. The two dragon races had suffered a great loss. The Azure Dragon has already opened 890,000 dragon veins, and his pure strength has reached 899 million. His combat power is close to that of a 9th stage combat emperor. Lin Chen was excited. In the bloodline column, the Azure Dragon and Winged Dragon bloodlines had both exceeded 3 million bloodline attribute points. It was 10 times faster than the original. Even Lin Chen didn't expect this result. The perfect fusion of two super dragon bloodlines could only be described as unprecedented and unparalleled in the future. The increase in bloodline attribute points meant that the limit of growth and talent had increased. Lin Chen's many dragon race abilities had undergone a qualitative leap and transformation. It was extremely difficult for a late-phase combat emperor to fight someone with a higher cultivation level. If it wasn't for the increase in bloodline attribute points and the increase in talent of the Azure Dragon, even if the Azure Dragon originally had 899 million dragon power, combined with the Winged Dragon, Azure Dragon and Purple Phoenix bloodlines, he could only contend with an early-phase combat emperor. It was as difficult as ascending to the heavens to defeat someone with a higher cultivation level. But now, the two bloodline attribute points had exceeded 3 million. Even if he had 899 million dragon power, he wouldn't be afraid of a 9th phase combat emperor. And the increase in his body wasn't inferior to the Azure Dragon at all. This time, with the baptism of the sacred dragon pond, I have obtained 1.6 billion points of intermediate blood chi energy. My body's dragon power has soared from 6.1 million to 7.99 million. With the help of the divine force, I now have 8.3 million dragon power. This pure strength was comparable to an early-phase combat emperor. After killing the dragon race's Grand Elder, Mo Yong, and severely injuring Mo Hong, Lin Chen had only obtained slightly more than 100 million points of intermediate blood chi energy. The absorption of the sacred dragon pond this time was equivalent to the attribute points that Lin Chen had obtained after killing more than 16 7th-phase combat beasts that were comparable to an early-phase 8th-phase combat emperor. It was exactly because of this that the two sacred dragon ponds had been completely refined by him and the Azure Dragon. Now Lin Chen's strength had reached a terrifying level. A late-phase 8th-phase combat emperor was no longer a match for him. The Azure Dragon alone was comparable to an early-phase 9th-phase combat emperor. My doppelganger has sensed that the experts of the two dragon races have begun to move. The third round, Get Rich Silently, has ended. The fourth round, Consecutive Matches. Let's begin. Lin Chen smiled confidently. He waved his hand and carved a line of words on the dragon pillar beside the dragon pond. Then, Lin Chen activated his super-dimensional teleportation skill. The sixth spatial position was the location of the Blazing Mountain. It was extremely close to the Red Lotus Flaming Dragon Race's base camp. He was going to go back to his old profession and strip the Red Lotus Flaming Dragon clan clean. What a joke! Now was the time when the top power of the Red Lotus Flame Dragon clan was greatly reduced. Even the clan leader of the Red Lotus Flame Dragon clan had personally come to the Hell Volcano. After today, if there's even a single hair left in the Red Lotus Flame Dragon storehouse, I'll write my name backwards. Let them know what Operation Light Disc is. Wherever we go, leave nothing behind. Lin Chen licked his lips and smiled slyly. His entire body was covered in a light green dragon's breath, and he disappeared and turned transparent. With my current cultivation as a dragon emperor, the azure dragon vanishing shadow that I use might not even be discovered by someone in the late 9th stage. What the hell? If you dare to have any ideas about Qianyun, I will strip you of your red lotus flame dragon's underwear until nothing is left. Lin Chen used the roaming dragon frightening movement technique, and his figure was like a floating dragon as he rushed into the void. No matter how the Red Lotus Flame Dragon clan hid their storehouses, they couldn't hide from Lin Chen's pair of 66K pure gold treasure eyes. All the secret rooms, halls, secret pavilions, underground secret rooms, and hidden independent spaces that hid treasures were all exposed in front of Lin Chen's golden eyes twin. In front of the door of an underground secret pavilion, Lin Chen, who had turned transparent, felt his heart tremble. Just based on the many heavenly treasures and auras captured by the Golden Eyes twin, the Red Lotus Flame Dragon clan's foundation was probably even richer than the Han family's. Chapter 681. My goodness, the Dragon Clan is the Dragon Clan after all. The resources in the barren state are vast and limitless, not to mention the inventory of one of the top 10 Dragon Clans. How many treasures have these guys collected? Lin Chen swallowed his saliva and his eyes lit up. The Dragon Clan loved to collect all kinds of treasures, not to mention such a huge clan. Coupled with the rich resources in the barren state, they had accumulated a huge amount of treasures in their inventory. Many rare heavenly treasures, Xian materials, 9 patterned blood fire jade, 10,000-year Bodhi heart, 10,000 flames holy liquid, glazed gold essence, holy dragon transformation saliva, and so on. These heavenly treasures were enough to set off a bloody storm in the Jiuzhou continent. They were everywhere. Most of them were paid by the subordinate forces of the Red Lotus Flaming Dragon clan or the top treasures accumulated in their own territories. Although the Han family was strong, it was only established after the ancient times. Moreover, it was indirectly interfered by the false god and not directly established. In terms of foundation, it was still lacking. If the Han family's wealth was to collect all kinds of treasures, such as cultivation techniques, handprints, rare ores, and elixirs, then the Red Lotus Flaming Dragon clan's inventory was a large warehouse of medicinal herbs. Most of them were heavenly treasures. The spatial enchantment here is more complicated, and the dragon breath of the Dragon clan's ancestors is left behind. I can't take it by force, I still have to rely on the decomposition function. Since that's the case, I'll turn them all into my attribute points. The Hell Volcano was one of the most dangerous areas of the Red Lotus Flaming Dragon clan. The intensity of the fire energy here was more than 10 times that of other top secret realms. The ferocious beasts that entered had to be at least of the 7th rank. It was because of this reason that it was named the Hell Volcano. It was as hot as hell. Even the Red Lotus Flaming Dragon clan, which was born with the fire attribute, dared not approach it without the strength of the 7th rank. One of Lin Chen's doppelgangers stood on top of the many volcanic craters. When he looked towards the southwest, a small group of black shadows was slowly expanding. Are they here? Just the combat strength of the 9th-ranked combat emperor alone, there are 2 of them. They really think highly of me. The doppelgangers smiled. He couldn't wait for more strong people to come. That way, he would have more opportunities to wipe out the Red Lotus Flaming Dragon clan. Lin Chen, where is my son? If you hurt him, I guarantee that you won't be able to leave the barren state. The dragon's roar shook the heavens, and a cold rebuke exploded like muffled thunder. The dark silhouettes on the horizon were enlarging rapidly. The 2 dragon experts were already within 500,000 miles of Lin Chen. A red light flashed across his eyes. When Mo Tianming took a closer look, he almost fumed with anger. The corners of the mouths of the heavenly winged dragon clan's experts twitched violently as they cursed Lin Chen. Inside the Hell Volcano, 2 enormous dragons were suspended in the 2 craters. 2 Linchun held Luo Sha and Emo Tianyan's dragon bodies and swung them back and forth. Boom! Boom! The gigantic dragon body continued to rotate in a circular manner, bringing with it a large amount of raging winds that swept up numerous flaming tornadoes. Being covered by water calamity battle chi, the beauty jumped back and forth in the air, jumping over the swaying dragon body under her feet. 997998999. Yes, raise your butt higher, raise your legs a little more, and simplify your movements. Lin Chen's clone at the side clapped his hands and shouted. The beauty rolled her eyes at him, and kept jumping over the swaying dragon body. Such a scene was rarely seen in 10,000 years, and they were actually jumping rope? Luo Sha and Emo Tianyan were actually being used as jumping rope above the craters of 2 volcanoes? What F** King jumping rope? The number 1 prodigy of the Heavenly Winged Dragon Clan and the Red Lotus Flaming Dragon Clan, overlord-level prodigies who led an era, were actually being used as jumping rope by Lin Chen? F** Lin Chen, how dare you look down on the dignity of the Dragon Clan? F** you lowly human dog, are you courting death? The clan leaders of the 2 dragon tribes were so angry that smoke was coming out of their 7 orifices. They even transformed into their true forms. Their killing intent soared to the sky as they roared at Lin Chen. Bang! 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 The terrifying dragon roar shattered countless volcanoes and turned them into lava. It was as if a natural disaster was about to descend. The 2 clan leaders had lived for more than 100,000 years and had seen all kinds of big scenes. However, they had never experienced such humiliation. The prodigies of their clan were actually being used as jumping rope? Not only was this F** King shameful, but it was also shameful to the ancestors. This was too much. The eyes of the elders behind them were all red and bloodshot. They had all entered a state of near madness. Wait a minute. If you come any closer, I'll kill the 2 of them in a minute. Lin Chen abruptly roared, and his mental energy rippled outwards. He forcefully regained some sense of rationality. With the white frost-green rainbow and the Nethermoon heavenly crystal in his hands, the 2 doppelgangers stood by Luo Sha and Emo Tianyan's dragon heads. Their swords and blades were pressed against their necks. At this distance, neither side had a chance to save them. What do you want? Emo Tianming roared angrily. His dragon breath was like a tide that could crush Lin Chen at any time. Keep your distance. If you dare to cross the line, I guarantee that you won't even be able to bring their bodies back. There was a hint of warning in his calm tone. The 2 clan leaders could feel that Luo Sha and Emo Tianyan were on their last breath. Their blood essence and energy were depleted, and they were seriously injured. Even their dragon tendons had been pulled out. In such a state, it was very easy to die. If they tried to snatch them back, it would be very difficult for them to take them back. But no matter what, as long as they could stay alive, there was still hope. The 2 dragon clans had poured in a lot of effort and resources to nurture them. No matter what, nothing could happen to them. What's the rush? Come. Let's sit down and talk. Lin Chong crossed his legs in the void with a smile on his face and waved his hand. A clone instantly stepped out. Its speed was tens of thousands of miles away in a few flashes. In less than 10 breaths, it had already moved close to 200,000 miles. His speed caused the eyes of the experts from the 2 dragon clans to shrink slightly. It was no wonder that this lad could cause the Hun clan to suffer. Kid, what do you want to talk about? Emo Tianming's eyes were ruthless. He was about to release his murderous aura at any moment. With his battle strength, no one below the mid-9th level was a threat. Other than the Dragon Clan elders who were comparable to the late 9th level, he was practically the strongest. I'm very sincere. I just don't know if you're sincere, Lin Chen said with a carefree smile. Beside Emo Tianming, the patriarch of the Heavenly Imperial Winged Dragon Clan, Luo Yu, asked with an indifferent expression. State your conditions. Lin Chen raised his finger and laughed. First, I want all the treasures and resources accumulated in your clans. Don't worry, I'll let my clone follow you back to your clans to retrieve the treasures. I guarantee that our transaction will be fair and just. When he said this, it was so quiet that it was a little strange. Bulsh *T. This is F King sincerity? Fair and just? The entire clan's resources and lifeline will be given to you? And this is only the first thing? This ridiculous condition is only the first. There's still more to come? Why don't you F King ascend to the sky and stand shoulder to shoulder with the sun? Chapter 682. Almost all the experts' expressions turned gloomy and cold in an instant. Mo Tianming sneered as his extremely cold dragon eyes restrained his killing intent. If this is the condition, then there's no need for us to talk. Luo Yu said, looks like you don't plan on returning them to us. Lin Chen of the human race, could it be that there's some deep enmity between our two races that's worth you offending us? Aren't you the patriarchs? You can't even solve such a small problem? Lin Chen was surprised. I suspect that you're really stupid or just pretending to be stupid. If this is the condition, then why don't we fight to the death now? Mo Tianming roared in disdain. As the patriarch of a race, he naturally had his bottom line. Although the experts of the two races were the ones with the highest authority, they did not have the qualifications to decide on their own whether to use all the resources for this transaction. This was related to the continuation of the dragon race's development. Lin Chen's condition was completely non-negotiable. This condition was too ridiculous. He was just stalling for time. He knew that the dragon race would not do anything that would harm their heritage. If the two patriarchs were so easily swayed by their emotions, then they would not be the leaders of the two great dragon races. Then I'll take a step back. All of your storage rings in exchange for their lives. How about it? Lin Chen smiled mockingly. His purpose was to anger them and disrupt their rhythm and reason. Our storage rings? You have a big appetite. Luo Yu's dragon eyes flashed. He exchanged a glance with Mo Tianming, who was beside him. If we hand over our storage rings, will you obediently let them go? The furious Mo Tianming roared. The dragon's roar turned into sound waves that shook the earth and shook the mountains. The might of the dragon race's patriarch was fully displayed. I promise to let them go. Lin Chen smiled meaningfully. In this transaction, everyone had their own thoughts. Forget it, Luo Yu, we'll hand it over. The lives of these two brats are more important. Mo Tianming's straightforwardness was a little strange. After he agreed, the Grand Elders looked at each other and handed over their storage rings. Hand over the rings and let them go. No problem. Lin Chen snapped his fingers, and the two doppelgangers flew over with the two dragons. Take it. Mo Tianming flung out his hand, and more than 20 storage rings shot towards Lin Chen. When he raised his hand to catch them, the wind and clouds suddenly changed. Bang! All of a sudden, a volcano erupted, bringing up a stream of fire without any sign, rushing towards the two clones of Lin Chen. Two streams of fiery red dragon chi darted out like two battle spears. In order to protect themselves, Lin Chen's two clones launched a 7 deadly tearing force, backhandedly. Boom! The dragon's breath exploded, and the two doppelgangers were knocked back hundreds of miles. The blazing lava swept away Mo Tianyan and Luo Sha. Right at this moment, Lin Chen's clone, who was in charge of the negotiations, suddenly made a grabbing motion and forcefully snatched the storage ring away. Infinite Silent Step appeared beneath his feet. Attack! Almost in an instant, all the actions were linked together. After confirming that the aura had saved Luo Sha and Mo Tianyan, Mo Tianming and the others immediately attacked. Many attacks were directed at Lin Chen. Bang! 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 Space trembled. Every step of Lin Chen's was extremely mysterious. His speed was extremely fast, like a jumping star. The attacks of Mo Tianming and the other experts completely missed. Currently, he could already reach the late stage of the 7th layer when using the 7 layers transformations. Coupled with the infinite silent step at the final moment, and the fact that both parties maintained a certain distance from each other, the destructive dragon's breath did not even touch him. Damn it, this kid's movement technique is actually a few levels faster. Luckily, we saved them. A stream of light flashed back to the 2 dragon tribes' camp. The red-robed elder appeared with Mo Tianyan and Luo Sha. He was the Red Lotus Flame Dragon Patriarch who had presided over the ceremony that day. His understanding of the Red Lotus Flame Dragon's mystical abilities and the Hell Volcano far exceeded any expert in the tribe. He could freely transform into lava and sneak into the dark to save the 2 geniuses. Thank you for your help, Patriarch. The many grand elders expressed their gratitude. The red-robed elder nodded and said seriously, "You guys protect the 2 little fellows. We'll get rid of this kid. This kid is extraordinary. We can't let him stay here. Take back the storage ring. Damn it, I didn't expect this guy to risk his life to snatch the storage ring." Mo Tianming roared angrily. The 3 experts transformed into their true forms. 3 ancient dragons comparable to 9th layer combat emperors appeared out of nowhere. The situation of the battle changed rapidly. They surrounded Lin Chen's 4 doppelgangers in an instant. I miscalculated. He's still a top-tier dragon tribe after all. The ultimate restoration was activated. The 4 doppelgangers quickly recovered their battle chi. The leading doppelganger smiled. The other doppelganger protected Yan Qianyun and retreated rapidly. You want to leave? The red-robed patriarch's dragon claw shattered the universe. 2 tens of thousands of feet long fiery red claw marks reversed yin and yang, slashing towards Yan Qianyun and the doppelganger beside her like a sharp blade. A wisp of faint pure white flame extinguished the horizon. Her slender jade-like hand lightly pressed into the void. With a bang, the fiery red claw marks were shattered into fragments that filled the sky. They turned into flaming meteors that fell into the Hell Volcano and shattered the earth veins. The beauty's white dress fluttered like smoke. She was not affected by the heavens and earth. She was elegant and otherworldly. Even a banished immortal was like this. Such a woman was peerless in her generation. The patriarch squinted his dragon eyes and said in astonishment, "Early 9th layer combat emperor, the power of the eternal sacred flame?" This woman in a white dress who was as beautiful as a fairy was shockingly by Ruoyan. Previously, she had been in seclusion within the sacred flame realm. If Lin Chen was in danger, she would take the initiative to appear. If Lin Chen sneaked in to save someone, her current state would be the best. "Sister Ruoyan, I'll leave this old thing to you," the 3 doppelgangers requested. Bai Ruoyan glanced at them with slight annoyance. This little brother Lin Chen was really troublesome. It was hard to distinguish between the real and fake doppelgangers. She didn't even know which one to protect. However, he has his own plans. Just trust him. Bai Ruoyan turned to look at the patriarch. The patriarch said solemnly, "There are many who have received the sacred flame's blessing. However, according to what I know, there shouldn't be anyone in the 9 provinces who can truly control the power of the eternal sacred flame. Who exactly are you?" Bai Ruoyan pointed at the youth in the void and smiled sweetly. It was as if the heavens and earth had lost their color. "His woman?" Lin Chen coughed lightly. Cough, cough. "Keep a low profile, keep a low profile." Yan Qianyun was expressionless. She pinched the waist of the doppelganger beside her and said calmly, "First it's Miss Ning, and now it's this sister fairy. You're very popular, aren't you? SOSO. #1 in the 9 provinces." Boom. The 2 patriarchs surrounded Lin Chen's 3 doppelgangers. He was ready for battle. With his current 8.3 million dragon power points, he might still be a little lacking when using the late-stage 6th heaven of the 7 transformations. However, if he just wanted to delay them for a while, then he still had a chance. Yan Qianyun's expression was solemn. Even she couldn't tell what Lin Chen was trying to do. When he kidnapped those two fellows previously, he clearly had a chance to escape. Why did he provoke these terrifying dragon patriarchs now? 9 provinces most handsome Lin, I'm here today to learn the strength of the 2 dragon patriarchs. Lin Chen laughed heartily. His 3 doppelgangers rushed into the sky and pointed at the sky above the Hell volcano. Chapter 683. In the sky, the 2 auras collided like the sun and the moon. The terrifying momentum startled countless top experts. They looked at the Hell volcano in horror. A top-level battle actually broke out in the territory of the Dragon Clan? This was the territory of the top 10 Dragon Clans. Who dared to behave atrociously here? Boom. 3 8-colored chaotic energy fingers pointed forward. With the support of the charging and penetrating runes, the fingers flattened thousands of miles of mountains and rivers. Originally, this combat skill was not even at the high-level purple rank. However, with Lin Chen's 9 Tribulations war body, the ultimate moment, and the enhancement of the 2 great runes, the combat skill was at least at the high-level purple rank. Your combat skill is very strong. Unfortunately, your cultivation base is too trashy. Break. The 2 patriarchs spat out a dragon breath angrily. One was water and the other was fire. Like a yin-yang wheel, they shattered the 3 desolate fingers. Obtained 1,980 points of fire elemental energy, 2,340 points of water elemental energy, 390 points of spiritual power, 45 million points of battle chi essence, 69 million points of blood essence, 45 million points of blood essence, 30,000 points of talent, 40,000 runes of energy. I still need some time. My attributes are soaring. Lin Chen's doppelganger was delighted. The speed of his attributes soaring could only be described with one word: ridiculous. Rip. A terrifying sonic boom suddenly exploded. 2 of Lin Chen's doppelganger used the infinite silent step and approached the 2 patriarchs of the Dragon Clan. Hiss. Is he courting death? What kind of joke is this? Fighting in close combat with the 2 patriarchs? Even the elders who were protecting the 2 geniuses sucked in a breath of cold air. Fighting in close combat with top-level beasts was something that none of the top experts in the 9 prefectures dared to do. Because the strongest part of a beast was its body. Was he, a late 6th-level combat emperor, trying to rebel? Should we assist the patriarchs? No, without the patriarch's orders, we can't attack easily. This kid's speed is very troublesome. He still has another doppelganger. Many of the Supreme Elders wanted to capture the 4th doppelganger, but they were stopped by a gray-robed elder with a serious expression. The battle prowess Lin Chen displayed now was truly terrifying. The strength of each clone was comparable to a late 8th-level combat emperor. If his clones had the same combat strength, then the clones that were protecting Yan Qianyun would be the same as well. With their strength, they wouldn't be able to stop him. Cutting force of 7 blades. The wind from his fist cut through the universe, and 3 million dragon energy points landed on the 2 clan leaders' bodies. 2 sharp shockwaves exploded. Boom. Boom. The 2 clan leaders were actually knocked back several kilometers, their dragon eyes revealing a trace of disbelief. This kid's control of pure power was so exquisite that it was even better than theirs. The most terrifying thing was that his attacks actually had a power that could penetrate their dragon scales and dragon veins, directly penetrating their bodies. Fortunately, the bodies of the 2 clan leaders were strong. Otherwise, even the 2 of them would have suffered light injuries. If this kid can control more than 99 million dragon power points, the pure destructive power he can unleash will threaten even me. He is indeed a monster. Kill. Boom. When the dragon breaths of water and fire surged out from the bodies of the two clan leaders, Lin Chen's two clones pushed out their hands with lightning speed. Slow rune. The rune energy dropped by 2 million points. 2 grayish-white runes fell from the sky, and the two clan leaders' movements suddenly became stiff. The power of the dragon veins was confined and the space was frozen, causing them to be astonished. What kind of move is this? Cutting force of 7 blades. Lin Chen's clone once again used the cutting force of 7 blades and fiercely slammed it towards the dragon's abdomen. Chi. The wind from the fist that cut through the shock waves rushed towards the sky. This palm actually pushed the two clan leaders back again? However, the actual injuries were still only superficial wounds. The defense of the dragon body was extremely hard. It was so hard that Lin Chen's scalp went numb. As expected of the creatures that stand at the peak of the 9 prefectures. However, I still have one more move. Activating the Heavenly Invisibility rune to eliminate the host's attack. 150,000 rune energy points consumed. Cooldown time, 40 seconds. After the successful attack, the two clones retreated with lightning speed. As the dark light shuttled back and forth, it was as if a wind dragon was roaring. Bang! Just as the two clan leaders broke free from the restraints of the slowing rune, 2 streaks of arrow light burst forth with a dragon's roar and fell towards the dragon's eyes. This dark lightning arrow light came without any warning, and even the two clan leaders were stunned for a moment. Rip! Chi! The arrow light pierced through, and dragon blood violently splattered. Roar! The dragon's painful roar resounded through the heavens and earth, and many of the supreme elders were suddenly shocked. The two clan leaders were actually injured? After taking away the extremely high-quality attribute light balls dropped by the two clan leaders, Lin Chen's mid-level chi and blood increased by another 90 million points. The third clone 80,000 miles away pulled the Emperor Wind bow. His silver robe fluttered, and he was extraordinarily handsome, like a divine archer that appeared in the world. His pupils were as sharp as an eagle's gaze. The Heavenly Invisibility rune is indeed powerful. My clone is still unable to fight against an early 9th Heaven Combat Emperor, but with the magical effect of the Heavenly Invisibility rune, as long as I hit the weakest point of the opponent's defense, I still have a chance to injure the 9th Heaven Combat Emperor. The two clones' faces were filled with excitement, and their auras were surging wildly, as if they had nothing to lose and were not afraid of wearing shoes. They attacked the two clan leaders again, and many of the elders of the Dragon Clan felt their scalps go numb. They had never seen such a human combat emperor, fighting the Dragon Clan leaders again and again in close combat? What's going on? His aura is gradually rising. The eyes of the two clan leaders trembled. They could clearly feel that the 4 Lin Chen in front of them, whether it was the body-refining dragon force or the battle chi cultivation, they were all like a raging storm. Even the heavenly calamity combat body that he revealed was glowing with a kind of pressure that made one's heart palpitate. Could it be that he could still level up in battle? Wasn't this 2F** King ridiculous? On the other side, in the Red Lotus Flaming Dragon Clan, within the 4 dragon palaces, a figure was unobstructed, like a hot knife through butter. Continuously activating the decomposition function, consumed 4,500 heavenly Dao points, 9,800 heavenly Dao points, 4,100 heavenly Dao points. Obtained 15 million battle chi essences, 39. 5 million blood essence, 40,000 heavenly Dao points, 50,000 talent points, 12. 5 million blood essence, 14. 89 million blood essence, 1,580 fire essence, 1,950 wood essence, 300 blank attribute points, 890 spiritual power. All the treasures that were sealed in the secret pavilion were all collected by Lin Chen. Everything that his palm touched, no matter what kind of enchantment there was, as long as it did not have an owner, would be decomposed. Endless attribute points turned into essence and surged into Lin Chen's body, and the speed at which his attribute points soared could be said to be abnormal. The Dragon Clan's collection was too rich. It contained all kinds of top-grade treasures, and it had everything. Along the way, Lin Chen had obtained a total of 400 million points of intermediate battle chi essence, 500 million points of intermediate blood essence, 40,000 points of intermediate spiritual energy, 8. 9 million talent points, 7. 5 million heavenly Tao points, 4. 45 million cultivation soul essences, 6. 75 million rune energy, and 4,450 blank attribute points. However, these attribute points were not the most important. Among all the attribute points, the most important and terrifying increase was the intermediate elemental attribute points. The Dragon Clan's heritage was very rich, and there were too many different kinds of top-grade treasures hidden in their collection. Many of the top-grade treasures were extremely precious, and only the elders or grand elders who had made great contributions to the Red Lotus Flaming Dragon Clan were qualified to enjoy them. All of them were completely decomposed by Lin Chen, other than the two rare attributes, light and darkness, which had an average increase. Lin Chen's other 7 intermediate elemental attributes had all increased by 200,000 points. All of them had doubled. Chapter 684. All 7 mid-level elemental attributes had increased by more than 200,000 points. What kind of concept was this? Lin Chen's 9 elemental attributes were only about 190,000 points on average. After this round of looting, Lin Chen's mid-level elemental attributes had doubled. The 9 calamities of creation's mental cultivation method had doubled in all aspects. The increase in the mental cultivation method meant that the power of all Lin Chen's cultivation methods had doubled. This was the benefit of increasing one's elemental attribute. The reason why the ultimate moment talent could only double the power of cultivation methods but quadruple the power of cultivation methods was because it first doubled the foundation of the mental cultivation method, then doubled the power of the cultivation method. The power of the 9 calamities star had also skyrocketed. Boom! Boom! Almost at the same time, a battle aura glow and a storm-like spiritual storm shone from between Lin Chen's eyebrows. The Azure Dragon Mirage couldn't hide it at all. Heavenly Invisibility Rune. Lin Chen hurriedly activated the Heavenly Invisibility Rune, eliminating all the battle aura and spiritual fluctuations. He had almost exposed his own aura. Good heavens, this round of battle aura essence has allowed me to break through to the late stage of the 5th stage. Moreover, my spiritual power has finally reached the middle stage of the Heavenly Ascension realm. Lin Chen was excited. The middle stage of the Heavenly Ascension realm meant that he now met the minimum requirements to practice the Annihilation Secret Manual. The cultivation of spiritual power was as difficult as ascending to the heavens. Lin Chen's mid-level spiritual power attribute of more than 50,000 points was already at the peak of the initial stage of the Heavenly Ascension realm. However, he had forcefully broken down countless treasures in the Dragon Clan and finally obtained 40,000 points of spiritual power attribute to reach the middle stage of the Heavenly Ascension realm. If he continued, the difficulty would probably increase by more than 10 times. Lin Chen pushed open a door. After breaking down the last yellow spring poria mushroom in the Dragon Palace, he was about to leave when something deep inside the Dragon Palace attracted Lin Chen's attention. It was the light of an attribute ball. At the end of the hall, there seemed to be a statue of the Dragon Clan. Lin Chen squinted his eyes. On top of the towering statue there was an orange key. Is it an attribute? No, attribute balls don't look like that. A key? Could it be used to open treasure chests? But I've never needed a key to open a attribute treasure chest. Lin Chen was very curious. He flew over and grabbed the orange key that was the size of 2 fingers. The orange key melted into Lin Chen's palm like lightning. After it disappeared, the system's screen popped up. Congratulations to the host for obtaining the ultimate skill function key. You can now choose to activate the system's new function, Ultimate Skill Function. Activation of this function requires 20 million talent points, 20 million heavenly Tao points. Ultimate Skill Function. Increase a brand new special attribute. The host can collect special attribute points to create an ultimate skill. The power of the ultimate skill depends on the value and type of the special attribute point. Sure kill skills were divided into 4 grades: green, blue, purple, and orange. Host, would you like to remove the required attribute points to activate? Boom. Lin Chen's eyes became increasingly bright as a large amount of information flooded into his mind. It was actually a new function, a sure kill skill? Lin Chen read a little. For example, Red Lotus Karmic Fire, Boundless Water Calamity, 10,000 Miles Sandstorm, and so on. These were just the lowest grade green sure kill skills, but they already had the destructive power to threaten a 9th stage combat emperor. There was also the green sure kill skill, 5 Thunderclaps, which could even threaten the life of a 9th stage combat emperor. But this is 2F** King terrifying. It still requires 20 million talent points and heavenly Tao points from Brother Chen. Lin Chen's mouth twitched a few times. Although the sure kill skill function was powerful, the attribute points required to activate it were 2F** King terrifying. He had previously destroyed the attribute points of the fake god family and killed the 2 sacred boundary messengers, and only obtained 10 million talent points and heavenly Tao points. In addition, the Red Lotus Flaming Dragon family's assets were almost turned upside down. After deducting the consumption of the 2 patriarchs, he had only accumulated 26.8 million talent points and 20.45 million heavenly Tao points. This suddenly required such a high amount of attribute points. It was equivalent to cutting off his flesh and cutting off his arm. Just when Lin Chen was hesitating, his eyes suddenly saw a line of small words in the description of the system function. The sure kill skill is a forceful lock-on attack within a specified range or condition. The target cannot escape. Lin Chen sucked in a breath of cold air fiercely. A lock-on attack? A 100% hit. This was 2F** King fierce. The lowest grade green sure kill skill could already threaten a 9th stage combat emperor, and it was a 100% hit. What if it was a blue, purple, or even orange rank? Wouldn't that mean that he could kill a saint or a god? A sure kill skill that could threaten a saint realm expert or even a god, and it was a 100% hit. How abnormal was that? F***CK, I choose you. I confirm that I will consume the specified attribute points to activate the sure kill skill function. Lin Chen steeled his heart and pressed confirm. New information flowed into his mind, and the 2 attribute points instantly decreased by 20 million points. After activating the sure kill skill function, Lin Chen's status bar had an additional option. He could store more attribute points. Special attribute points usually appear in special areas with strong elemental energy. Damn, aren't my 4 clones in special areas? Lin Chen slapped his thigh and his eyes lit up. Isn't the Hell Volcano an area with strong elemental energy? Ha ha, after robbing the entire Red Lotus Flaming Dragon tribe, I feel that I have become more handsome. This dragon palace was the last secret palace. The remaining low-grade herbs were all stored in the warehouse that could be used by experts at any time. Lin Chen was too lazy to go there, so as not to disturb the Red Lotus Flaming Dragon tribe's old ancestor who was in seclusion. In this operation, Lin Chen had taken at least 90% of the treasures of the Red Lotus Flaming Dragon tribe. Not a single top-grade treasure was left, not even a strand of hair was left. After today, this unlucky tribe would forever remember the fear of being dominated by this handsome guy. System: activate super-dimensional teleportation and teleport to the 4th position. In an instant, Lin Chen cancelled the previous 4th position and set the position of his clones to the 4th position. A spatial light suddenly broke open above his head, and Lin Chen disappeared from the Dragon Palace. What the hell is going on? Didn't this kid's cultivation temporarily increase to the late stage of level 6? How did he enter the early stage of level 7? It's his cultivation. His cultivation has broken through, and the rate of increase has also increased. His pure strength has also reached 7 million points. Did he break through during the battle? And it's an all-round improvement? F***ck. His spiritual power has also broken through. What kind of freak is this? In the Hell Volcano, many Grand Elders sucked in cold breaths. They watched as Lin Chen's 4 clones broke through the limit again and again in the battle with the Patriarch. And the battle was so smooth and easy that it didn't look like a breakthrough at all. It was as simple as eating and drinking. What kind of godly cultivation method was this? Lin Chen's 3 clones could only barely hold on at first, and they even had to rely on the slowing rune to barely hold back the 2 patriarchs. But now, his 3 clones were gradually becoming evenly matched. Relying on the mystery of the infinite silent steps and the archery cover of the 3rd clone, the 3 clones actually had the tendency to fight evenly with the 2 patriarchs. This kind of terrifying growth rate made all the elders feel a lingering fear. Chapter 685. Even the 2 clan leaders were shocked by the speed of growth of the 3 clones. Indeed, this boy's 3 clones were still unable to defeat the 2 clan leaders. The strength of an early stage level 9 was like a huge chasm that was difficult to cross. However, it was also difficult for the 2 of them to defeat the 3 of them. The secret technique of freezing space to seal the dragon veins, the archery technique that was extremely fast, the attack that had the characteristic of penetrating and appearing and disappearing like ghosts, the mysterious movement technique, and all kinds of terrifying trump cards were enough for the 3 of them to deal with the 2 clan leaders. Attack! Suddenly, Mo Tianming's roar was heard. The dozen elders of the 2 clans finally showed their ruthless fighting spirit. Their gazes instantly locked onto Yan Qianyun and the 4th clone. Elder Mo Qian and the rest have already sent Luo Sha and Tian Yin away. It's time. Get rid of this boy's clones and kill his woman. Bang! Just as he finished speaking, a spatial light beam descended from the sky and suddenly landed on the mouth of a volcano. His silver robe fluttered like snow as he crossed his arms. In his frivolous smile, there was a flash of fierceness between his brows. Everyone, I've kept you waiting. When the young man's light laughter resounded, all the experts' expressions changed greatly. What? The 5th Lin Chen? He actually had the ability to create another clone? Let them test your strength. Come out, Azure Dragon! Roar! The dragon's roar shook the heavens and the sky changed. A dragon's roar filled the sea. The dragon's might was vast as a dark azure dragon appeared. All the dragon experts present were dumbfounded, as if they had been struck by lightning. They were dazed on the spot. The azure dragon's tail was as blue as a sword, the azure dragon's claws were restrained, the purple phoenix's wings were burning with purple flames, and the azure dragon's feathers were as blue as jade. It seemed to come from outside the 9 prefectures, like a ghost from the heavens, shocking the heavens and earth, and making the gods weep. What kind of joke is this? Azure dragon's body, purple phoenix's wings, and dragon's tail? What kind of dragon is this? This is too ridiculous. This is a combination of 3 bloodlines, but the 3 bloodlines are very pure and relatively complete. There is no mixing at all. How can there be such a creature in the world? The 2 battle circles at the top of the 2 clans separated instantly. They stared in astonishment at the Dragon Emperor that had appeared out of nowhere. As the highest echelons of the dragon race, they knew better than any other living being that it was as difficult as ascending to the heavens to fuse 2 completely different bloodlines and possess extremely high talent. Not to mention 3 And this Dragon Emperor is very strange. Its bloodline was not like the mixed bloodline of two dragon species. It was an extremely complete and coexisting body of three dragon species. This was completely illogical in history. This was like pouring one type of blood into a bowl and then adding another type of blood into it. The two types of blood would inevitably mix to different degrees, but they would never take up a position where they each took up one side of the bowl. This Dragon Emperor belonged to the latter category that was impossible to appear. Wait a minute, you are? The red-robed ancestor seemed to notice something and asked in a trembling voice, "Your Longchenbois?" As soon as he said this, all the elders felt their scalps go numb. Longchenbois? Didn't this guy have a grudge against Lin Chen? How did he end up together with Lin Chen? And this Longchenbois was far from that level. The pure power of his dragon bloodline was comparable to that of a late 8th level combat emperor. Congratulations, you'll be rewarded for your correct answer. Under Lin Chen's command, Azure Dragon charged towards the direction of all the elders. Not good, spread out. One of the elders let out a low roar, and the profound Azure Dragon domain instantly spread out. Draconic chi filled the domain, and all of the elders' movements were slowed down by several notches. The Dragon Monarch used Azure Dragon Shadow, and the purple phoenix wings on his back flap. His speed flashed, and he used startling dragon roaming movement technique. In an instant, the Azure Dragon tail whip fiercely smashed into that elder's body. The dragon claw shot out and a dragon breath blade tore through the sky, slashing towards another group of peak 7th level elders. Bang! An earth-shattering shockwave exploded as the dragon breath exploded, shaking the heavens and earth. This kind of battle strength was comparable to a 9th level combat emperor. The chaotic battle started again. Talent points were consumed and the ultimate restoration was activated. The three clones continued to hold back the two patriarchs. This time, the fourth clone joined the battle against the two elders. With the addition of the Dragon Emperor and a clone, even though the two elders were comparable to 8th level combat emperors, they were still forcefully stopped. The other two peak 7th level elders were responsible for escorting the two geniuses away. What is this kid doing? The red-robed old ancestor discovered the abnormality of the 5th Lin Chen. Before he had the chance to investigate, the beautiful woman's slender hand sealed the void and a snow-white flame suppressed him. He could only continue to fight. At this moment, Lin Chen was protecting Yan Qianyun. While letting the clones fight, he looked around and his eyes became brighter. I've come to the right place. At this moment, the world reflected in Lin Chen's eyes was completely different. The entire hell volcano, whether it was the ground, the void, or the crater, were all apple-sized flame bubbles. In the center of these flame bubbles, there were numbers. Some were 13, some were 15. Some of the watermelon-sized bubbles were 49 foot and 55. That's right, these bubbles were the special attributes brought by the new function. These attributes could be used to create sure-kill skills. Let's go. Where are we going? Lin Chen brought Yan Qianyun and swept across the void. When they were 10 zhang away from the flame bubbles, they automatically exploded and turned into a series of attribute values that entered Lin Chen's body. Acquired special attributes: Hellfire 76 points, Hellfire 51 points, Hellfire 41 points. Hellfire attribute can be used to create a green rank sure-kill skill, Karmic Fire of the Red Lotus. Required attributes: 10,000 points of Hellfire attribute, 100,000 points of Heavenly Tao. Whether it was the sky, the ground, the crater, or the magma inside the volcano, all the Hellfire bubbles were absorbed by Lin Chen. How is this possible? The energy of the Hell volcano is decreasing rapidly? While fighting with Bai Ruoyan, the red-robed ancestor's eyes were filled with shock. He understood the Hell volcano very well. The fire attribute energy here was extremely violent. Without a cultivation at the peak of the 7th rank, it was impossible to refine its energy. Furthermore, even the peak of the 7th-rank Red Lotus Flaming Dragon could only refine a small portion of it within 100 years. The fire attribute energy here was so violent that even the Red Lotus Flaming Dragon, who was born with the fire attribute, could not withstand much of it. This kid had only been moving for a short while, but the entire hell volcano was showing signs of calming down. Something's not right. This kid is up to something. The red-robed ancestor's aura surged. His dragon eyes revealed a monstrous, killing intent. He had a premonition that Lin Chen was definitely brewing something. He definitely could not let him succeed. Collected 20,230 points of Hellfire attribute. Host, do you want to create the Sure Kill skill, Karmic Fire of the Red Lotus? Confirm. With the decrease of Heavenly Tao points, a new message was imprinted in his mind. Green rank Sure Kill skill, Karmic Fire of the Red Lotus. With the host as the center, within a radius of 40,000 li, it will lock onto all life forms that are hostile to the host. Karmic fire will descend and burn them to ashes. The Sure Kill skill can completely lock onto the target, making it impossible to dodge. The two Sure Kill skills, Karmic Fire of the Red Lotus, were imprinted in his mind. Lin Chen's lips curled up slightly. Chapter 686. 40,000 li is a bit short. I need to lure a wave of enemies. I'll use these two dragon race patriarchs to test the power of this Sure Kill skill. Lin Chen grinned. After placing Yan Qianyun in a safe place, he took a step and used the infinite silence step to travel 1,000 li in a breath's time. The three clones attacking the two dragon race patriarchs seemed to have a tacit understanding. They all used the silent step and retreated at full speed toward the dragon race elders. Not good. That brat's clones are charging toward the elders. Is he going to start with the elders? Don't let him succeed. The two dragon race patriarchs jumped through the air and chased after Lin Chen. The distance between the two chaotic battlefields instantly shortened by countless times. Only when the old ancestor saw the fifth Lin Chen, his dragon eyes trembled and he hastily roared. Don't act rashly. There's something wrong with that brat. The hell volcano's energy has mysteriously disappeared. As soon as he said that, Lin Chen's main body appeared in the air between the two dragon race patriarchs and elders. The two dragon race patriarchs immediately became vigilant, but it was already too late. Activating Green Sure Kill skill, Red Lotus Karmic Fire. Chi. A blazing red lotus light flashed past Lin Chen's forehead. The red flames turned into a ring of light that crossed the sky and broke through the heads of the dragon race experts. The ring of light instantly enveloped their huge dragon bodies and appeared without any warning. What the hell is this? Something's not right. Countless dragons were bewildered. They found that the red ring of light had locked onto them, and they couldn't shake it off at all. At this moment, an indescribable fear and panic appeared in their hearts. It was as if the heavens had locked onto them, as if they were being targeted by some extremely powerful life form. All of Lin Chen's clones instantly disappeared, turning into nothingness. At the same time, the Dragon Emperor condensed his dragon armor to defend himself. He flapped his purple phoenix wings and retreated rapidly, turning into a ray of light that returned to Lin Chen's body. What? That Long Chen bow actually. When the patriarch saw this, he was dumbfounded. Have a taste of my killing move. Red Lotus Hellfire, burn. At Lin Chen's command, the crimson ring of light suddenly bloomed into a red lotus. Flames shot into the heavens, bursting out from the lotus. Roar. Roar, roar, roar. A shrill dragon roar shook the sky, and all dragon elders were burned by the red lotus fire, rolling on the ground badly mangled. As space warped, dragon scales fell off one after another. His blood and chi dried up, and a large number of elemental light balls tumbled into the void. The red lotus fiery aura constantly spread out, as if countless seas of fire were exploding in the void. No, no. What the hell is this? Why? These flames are following us all the time. Why can't we get rid of them? We, the Red Lotus Flame Dragon clan, were actually burned by flames? The ancient dragons, who were powerful enough to be called emperors in the land of the 9 prefectures in the past, were now rolling on the ground and crying out in pain. The scene was extremely strange. Even the 2 clan leaders were completely enveloped by the Red Lotus karmic fire. They used their divine abilities to forcefully resist this strange energy. They couldn't get rid of it at all. No matter where they ran to, the Red Lotus karmic fire was like a maggot that kept burning on their bodies. They couldn't run away, and could only endure it. When they looked at Lin Chen, their eyes were filled with unprecedented fear. This human youth was too terrifying. This killer move was simply hell, a nightmare. An attack comparable to a 9th-level combat emperor, and they couldn't even dodge it and could only endure it? They had never seen or heard of such a killer move before. It was too shocking. The crimson, red lotus karmic fire burned the entire hell volcano. Bai Ruoyan was surprised. Where did Brother Lin Chen get such a powerful killer move? Why hadn't she seen him use it before? No, no. Lin Chen, the Red Lotus Flame Dragon clan will never live under the same sky as you. Until death do us part. The old ancestor roared crazily. His dragon body moved, wanting to help the other elders. Bai Ruoyan's beautiful figure flashed and blocked his path, not giving him a chance to move. So powerful. Oh my God, this is too terrifying. This killer move is too terrifying. Even Lin Chen, who had many trump cards, couldn't help but suck in a breath of cold air. In the center of the hell volcano, as far as the eye could see, there were huge dragon bodies that were burned into ashes, rolling and crawling. Those elders who were comparable to 7th-level combat emperors were severely injured by the Red Lotus karmic fire in less than 5 breaths. In 10 breaths they died on the spot. Without a doubt, a large number of them were burned to death. The elders who were comparable to 8th-level combat emperors weren't any better. Almost all of them were severely injured and on the verge of death. If it wasn't for the Red Lotus Flame Dragon clan's innate fire attribute, which made them more resistant to burning, a few 7th-level combat emperors might have died. The 2 patriarchs suffered different degrees of injuries, and their injuries couldn't be underestimated. This killer move is too abnormal. It's not only powerful in terms of its destructive power, but most importantly, it has a 100% chance of hitting the target. No matter what method you use, you can't avoid it. Once you're locked on, you have to use your own strength and defensive means to resist until the end. Lin Chen secretly clicked his tongue. The power of the Red Lotus karmic fire was comparable to the full power of an early 9th-level combat emperor. Even he was a little scared. Fortunately, this killer move was in his hands. If his opponent were to use this move on him, his scalp would go numb just thinking about it. Lin Chen, why? What kind of deep hatred do you have with my dragon clan? Why do you have to do this? Why did you kill so many of my elders? Mo Tianming roared angrily. Lin Chen's expression instantly became cold and sharp. Because you touched my friend. You made her cry, made her fearful, and made her desperate. What she went through, I will return it to your clan 100-fold. You can mess with anyone, but don't mess with me. Since you dared to touch my people, I will make you regret your actions for eternity. Do you really think I will let Mo Tianming and Luo Sha go? I have already left a sacred fire seal in their bodies. Maybe it won't kill them, but it's more than enough to cripple them. Lin Chen suddenly shouted. His gaze was extremely cold. Staring at his cold face when he was protecting her, Yan Qianyun, who had always seen through worldly affairs, was stunned for a moment. The beauty's beautiful face was dyed with a touch of crimson. Hearing what happened to their sons, the 2 patriarchs were shocked and furious. This kid still had a backup plan? Then, Lin Chun activated his doppelgangers again. The 4 doppelgangers flashed quickly and took away the large amount of attribute light balls in the void. Bai Ruoyan flashed to Lin Chen's side and the doppelgangers took away all the attribute light balls to protect Yan Qianyun. Lin Chen left with the 2 women. The patriarch couldn't care less about chasing after the others. He hurriedly flashed to the side of the heavily injured Grand Supreme Elders and spat out a wave of dragon aura to help them block a portion of the power of the Red Lotus fire. Lin Chun retracted his cold, killing intent and returned to his usual frivolous attitude. He smiled mockingly. "Come, Qianyun. Before we leave, pour a cup of cappuccino for everyone from the dragon tribe." Yan Qianyun bowed slightly. Her jade storage ring flashed, and a jade pot that was 1,000 feet long appeared. Yan Qianyun, who was walking in the air, was elegant. She smiled faintly and bent down to pour out the essence in the jade pot. The snow-white essence drew a beautiful arc in the air and poured into the mouth of a volcano. A fragrance spread for thousands of miles. The viscous black and white liquid at the mouth of the volcano mixed with the lava and slowly formed a 6. Chapter 687. One day after the great battle, in a palace in the Flame Mountain Range, the masters of the 2 clans were heavily injured and were resting in the main hall for a while. "Damn it! We were fooled by this kid." Luo Yu sat in the main hall and roared hysterically. While they were defending against the Red Lotus Hellfire, Lin Chen and the others had already escaped. With his movement technique, as long as he left the territory of the Red Lotus Flame Dragon, they would not be able to catch up. At this moment, 2 Grand Elders entered the hall and reported solemnly. "Clan Masters, Luo Sha and Tianyan are basically powerless. They can survive, but they might not even be able to recover their cultivation as level 5 dire beasts. That kid is very ruthless. After the explosion of the Dark Seal of Holy Fire, he destroyed the dire beast cores, but he left some energy to prevent them from dying completely. It's obvious that he wants to cripple them." Another Grand Elder of the Tianyu Ing Dragon Clan shook his head and sighed. For the former number 1 geniuses, the moment they fell from the altar, they were destined to live a life worse than death. Perhaps they would rather die after regaining their consciousness. Hearing this, Luo Yu and Mo Tianming in the hall seemed to have aged a lot. They sat silently in the hall, and the atmosphere was extremely strange. "What's going on?" At this moment, 5 figures arrived. They were either lightning dragons, wind blades, waves of ice, or shadows that covered the sky. They were all extremely powerful figures. They were the clan masters of the 5 dragon clans who had participated in the attack on Mingzhou. Including the 2 present, there were a total of 7 clan masters who had participated in the attack that day, and all of them were present. Behind the 5 clan masters were the geniuses of their clans, including He Lang and Han Bingling. "We sensed that there was a great battle in your clan, so we came at full speed." "What happened?" a middle-aged man with bright lightning and tiger-like eyebrows asked in a muffled voice. Mo Tianming's expression was so gloomy that it was terrifying. He did not want to talk at all. A Grand Elder beside him smiled bitterly and took over the conversation. "Clan Masters, it's like this." After the Grand Elder gave a simple summary of what had happened, the expressions of the 5 patriarchs were extremely interesting. He broke into the Red Lotus Flame Dragon family and caused a ruckus. This Lin Chun of the spiritual state is no ordinary person. Nonsense. How can someone who can shoot Earth core energy to the barren state be normal? Even the geniuses of the 2 clans were crippled by this brat. The 5 patriarchs each sat in a corner, their expressions solemn. It was not that there were no humans in the barren state. It was just that no one had ever trespassed into the territory of the 10 great dragon tribes. That was because all living beings knew that this was the territory of the Super Dragon tribe. After tens of thousands of years, this balance was broken by a young man of the spiritual state. He even crippled the geniuses of the two clans. I didn't expect Long Chenbua to be Lin Chen. Suddenly, the red-robed old ancestor's expression flickered. His words frightened many of the elders. Old ancestor Qi Tian, why do you say that? Asked He Lang. He was the one who had been defeated by Long Chenbua during the ceremony. That's because I personally saw Long Chenbua merge into Lin Chen's body without any obstruction. That dragon's core is most likely connected to his core, and they are one. This kind of thing is unprecedented even in the history of the 10 great dragon tribes. The red-robed ancestor's ruthless aura was faintly revealed. He was filled with regret. Back then, he had been so close to Long Chenbua that he could have killed or injured him with a single slap. But he had let him escape right under his nose. The 5 patriarchs looked at each other in shock. They had heard of Long Chenbua's name. He was suspected to be a super genius who had risen up. They hadn't expected him to be Lin Chen's incarnation. He's actually Lin Chen. Han Bing's face turned as pale as paper. Even she had heard of this legendary figure. Any one of his deeds that had shaken the 9 provinces wasn't something an ordinary person could do. Fortunately, he hadn't taken her seriously back then. Otherwise, with his strength, she probably wouldn't have been able to survive a single exchange. Wait a moment? Suddenly, Mo Tianming, who had been silent for a long time, showed a rare trace of panic. If Long Chenbua had been Lin Chen from the start, then why had he gone through so much trouble to come here? Was it just to save someone? No. Quick, let's go to the sacred dragon pool. Mo Tianming's words woke everyone up. The experts in the hall all stood up in horror. The red-robed ancestor personally opened a spatial channel. The 2 patriarchs followed closely behind him. The grand elders ignored their injuries and immediately entered. Within the Red Lotus Flame Dragon Race's sacred dragon pool, a group of people stood in front of the huge pool of blood. Looking at the pool of blood that had dried up to the point that there wasn't even a drop of energy left, all the Dragon Clan experts were stunned on the spot. It was gone. It was all gone? The heavenly geniuses of the 5 patriarchs sucked in a cold breath of air. The sacred dragon pool had accumulated so much energy, but there wasn't even a fucking drop left? Had it all been squeezed dry? Just who is this brat? The patriarch of the Frost Calamity Dragon race, a beautiful blue-robed woman, couldn't help but tremble. One had to know that the strongest dragon genius in history had only absorbed a third of the pool's energy in one baptism. Not to mention how this brat had snuck in, the sacred dragon pool's energy wasn't something that a single Long Chenbua could absorb, as expected of the young man that even those fellows are afraid of. He's indeed a monster. The other patriarchs looked at each other, their expressions abnormally serious. Now they might really have to join forces. Such a monster had appeared in their barren state. No one knew who his next target would be. It's over. The sacred dragon pool has dried up. Our race won't be able to nurture new dragons for at least 10,000 years. The red-robed ancestor's hands trembled. His heart was filled with rage and killing intent. Mo Tianming's expression was so calm that it was a little frightening. The intense killing intent in his dragon eyes couldn't be washed away. Patriarch, look, there are words there. A sharp-eyed grand elder suddenly pointed at a dragon pillar and said. Everyone looked over. When they saw the line of words clearly, they almost suffocated. With a flip of my hand, I'll super double your sacred dragon pool and secretly make a fortune. The 7 patriarchs felt their scalps go numb. The corners of their mouths twitched. Super double? What do you mean super double? He had already drained the sacred dragon pool's energy, and he still wanted to double it? No, double it? Luo Yu suddenly panicked without warning. What the F***ck? Could it be? He asked the red-robed ancestor to quickly open a space tunnel. Everyone was transferred to Tianyu Yinglong's sacred dragon pool. When they arrived, all the experts' hearts skipped a beat. F*ck. What the F*ck is this? Tianyu Inglong's sacred dragon pool was also in trouble, and similar to the Red Lotus Flame Dragon race, the entire sacred dragon pool's energy had been drained. How did he do it? Chapter 688. Humans couldn't absorb the energy in the Holy Dragon Pond, and there was a limit to how much the Dragon Clan could absorb. However, he managed to absorb the energy in 2 dragon ponds in such a short time. Monster. He's definitely a monster. This kid is too weird. How did he drain 2 dragon ponds? Damn it. Even if my talent is increased by 10 times, I can't do it. Who the hell is this kid? The energy in the Holy Dragon Pond must be absorbed in the Dragon Pond. It will lose its effect after leaving the Dragon Pond. He can't take it away. But, what's going on? Draining the Holy Dragon Pond in a matter of minutes? They didn't even dare to think about such a thing. However, all of this happened in just a few days. Luo Yu's eyes were dazed, and his face was blank. Damn it. Luo Yu, you idiot! You're going to kill me! Of all people, why did you and Mo Tianyan provoke Lin Chen of the spiritual state? Luo Yu was angry and resentful, draining the energy of the entire Holy Dragon Pond. It was too cruel. The Tianyu dragons wouldn't be able to cultivate any young dragons for at least 10,000 years. They would have to wait 10,000 years for the Holy Dragon Pond to accumulate energy again. It would take another 20,000 years for it to fully open. In other words, the Tianyu dragons wouldn't have any new blood in the next 20,000 years. Moreover, the growth rate of the previous geniuses would be greatly reduced without the baptism of the Holy Dragon Pond. The entire clan would be seriously affected. This was equivalent to cutting off an arm for the development of the Tianyu dragons and the Red Lotus Flame Dragons. At this moment, another Grand Elder pointed at the dragon pillar beside the dragon pond with a trembling finger. There are words there too. Everyone's heart twitched, and they looked over with difficulty. The words on the dragon pillar were, "I can't even afford to take you. Damn it. I can't afford to take you. I can't afford to take you." Draining 2 holy dragon ponds and crippling the strongest geniuses of the 2 clans. No dragon clan could withstand such a blow. The other dragon pillar was even engraved with the words, 3 carry 1 away. What was this? Super double and a team, right? What's more, it's 3 on 1. Suddenly, the clan masters panicked. 3 carrying 1. Don't tell me this is? Damn it. Ancestor Red Heaven, teleport to our holy dragon ponds. Everyone panicked. These patriarchs of the Dragon Clan, who had experienced one era after another and stood at the peak of the 9 regions, were all panicking. F*ck. If they were to become one of the 3 belts high school, then it would really be over. The energy of the entire sacred dragon pond had been sucked dry. This was a loss that no race could bear. Old Ancestor Scarlet Heaven gritted his teeth and opened up the spaces of the other sacred dragon ponds. He passed through them one by one. Fortunately, the sacred dragon ponds of the other races were safe and sound. Just as the patriarchs of the various clans heaved sighs of relief, they began to ponder again. What was the 1 in 3 with 1? At this time, the dragon jade on Mo Tianming's body suddenly shattered and the light dimmed. His expression changed once again. This is the 10 Secrets Palace's emergency message, Dragon Jade. Could it be? His figure flashed, and the others quickly left the sacred dragon pond and rushed toward the Red Lotus Flaming Dragon's 10 secret palaces. Inside the secret hall, many elders of the Red Lotus Fire Dragon clan were drenched in cold sweat. Seeing that the patriarch had personally arrived, they braced themselves and stepped forward to report. Reporting to the patriarch, all the treasures in the secret halls and treasure chambers are gone. We don't know what happened either. The spatial enchantment was not triggered at all. Many treasures and herbs have disappeared. Hearing this, Mo Tianming's veins popped out. He pushed many elders away and said, "Get lost!" He went straight to the last secret hall. Many of the secret cabinets inside were empty. Those spatial enchantments and dragon breath restrictions that he had personally set up were all still intact. However, they were not able to protect the treasures that they had accumulated over the past 100,000 years. The other patriarchs who had rushed over were also dumbfounded. They were shocked once again and stood rooted to the ground in a daze. The treasures, cultivation resources, and herbs that they had accumulated over a long period of time and accumulated over an era had all been stolen. If the sacred dragon pond being sucked dry was one arm that had cut off the development of the Red Lotus Fire Dragon clan, then this was the second arm that had been cut off. It was too ruthless. 100,000 years of treasures have all been for naught. Lin Chen, you are so ruthless. From today onwards, you and I will not rest until we are dead. Mo Tianming was so angry that his dragon breath went berserk. He was on the verge of madness. He could not remain calm. No matter how shrewd he was, he could not remain calm at this moment. This time, Lin Chen had directly caused the Red Lotus Fire Dragon clan to suffer a great loss. The number one genius was crippled. The sacred dragon pond's energy was exhausted. The treasures that they had accumulated over countless years were all sucked dry. More than half of the top experts of the Red Lotus Fire Dragon clan were seriously injured. Each of these events was enough to cause a great setback and loss to the Red Lotus Fire Dragon clan. However, all of them were gathered together now. Many of the higher-ups and Grand Supreme Elders smiled bitterly. They were even regretting it. Why did they have to provoke this god of plague? If young Master Mo Tianyan had not kidnapped Yan Qianyan back then, they would not have suffered such a disaster. Without a doubt, from today onwards, the Red Lotus Fire Dragon clan would completely fall to the bottom of the top 10 dragon clans. It would be impossible for them to develop again. At this time, many people suddenly noticed something strange. There was another line of words carved on the sacred dragon statue in the secret hall. Everyone looked at it intently. There were only 7 words. "Walk alone, idiot." The 7 clan leaders' mouths twitched. This is really... Someone vomited blood. Quick, bring the herbs over. Elder Mo Feng is vomiting blood. What are the F** king herbs? They're all gone. F***ck. The Red Lotus Flame Dragon race was in a complete mess. The situation in the Dragon clan was changing rapidly. On the other side, in the southern wasteland, 3 figures walked in the air and looked into the distance. 2 of these 3 people were one of the 6 fake god clans, the Dragon clan's patriarch, Long Can, and the Grand Supreme Elder, Long Yu. As for the young man in green, his aura was deep and unfathomable. The young man in green closed his eyes and chuckled strangely. Hee, get ready to attack. Today I want to see how strong this Lin Chen is. A murderous and dangerous situation quietly unfolded. The experts of the Dragon clan are indeed strong. A wave of karmic fire of the Red Lotus killed a large number of them, allowing me to pick up 900 million points of blood chi and 40,000 points of fire elemental energy. Lin Chen clicked his tongue in wonder. His current pure strength had already reached 8 million dragon power points. With the help of divine force, he had reached 899 million. He was at the same level as the Azure Dragon. Above that would be 9 million dragon force points, which was comparable to a 9th-level combat emperor's pure strength. It was difficult to break through this bottleneck. Although he still had the karmic fire of the Red Lotus, the damage it could inflict on the 2 clan leaders was limited. There was also an patriarch who was comparable to a middle 9th-level combat emperor. If it was a battle of life and death, it was hard to say who would win, especially when he had to protect Yan Qianyun and Sister Ruoyan. Lin Chen did not want to risk his life for a few attribute light balls and put the 2 girls in danger. Chapter 689. Speaking of which, why did the Dragon Clan take away so many fortune-tellers? Lin Chen asked Yan Qianyan curiously. She shook her head. I don't know. The Dragon Clan's actions this time are very strange. 7 out of the 10 great Dragon Clans participated in this operation. Although the Ming Prefecture is ancient and strong, it couldn't protect so many top-notch fortune-tellers in the face of this sudden attack. Their actions came without warning. No fortune-teller could foresee their arrival. They couldn't even deduce a trace of their aura. It's very likely that they have a fortune-teller behind them to help the Dragon Clan conceal the heavenly secrets and calamities. And this fortune-teller's strength may far surpass any fortune-teller in the 9 prefectures. Otherwise, it would be difficult to conceal all the auras of the 7 great Dragon Clans. I don't know where those fortune-tellers were taken. If Mo Tianyan hadn't detained me, I'm afraid I wouldn't have been able to wait until you came to save me. Yan Qianyun's pretty face was solemn. Her green eyes showed that she was thinking. Almost as soon as Yan Qianyun finished speaking, a hoarse young man's voice sounded. Little girl, you guessed right? Boom. A powerful and deep murderous intent enveloped a radius of 100,000 miles. A special battle aura formed a boundary and sealed the void. Lin Chen pulled Yan Qianyun over and made her stand behind him. His eyes narrowed. Bai Ruoyan said softly. A very strange aura. They don't come with good intentions. Lin Chen nodded. He seemed to have felt a very strange battle aura fluctuation. If he had to make an analogy, it was like a poisonous snake hiding in the dark of the forest. He could feel that it was aiming at him. It was very urgent and very dangerous. The young man in green had a smile on his face. He closed his eyes and crossed his arms. He appeared in the air with 2 figures following behind him. When Lin Chen saw the 2 of them, he immediately understood. Old dogs from the fake god family? It was a simple sentence, but the veins on the 2 of them immediately popped out, and their anger soared to the heavens. Damn it, they were top experts in the 9 prefectures. Wherever they went, they were respected by trillions of creatures. How could this kid call them lackeys? Fake gods? Haha, you have guts. In the divine prefecture, everyone worships me as a true god. No one is unconvinced and no one doesn't believe me. You are the only one who dares to call me a fake god. The green-robed young man flicked his sleeves, and the 2 people behind him immediately quieted down. Their expressions were extremely respectful. You? Lin Chen narrowed his eyes and said coldly, Are you the fake god behind the Long family? False god. Such an existence was at the Saint realm. Even though he was heavily injured, he was still not someone the War Emperor could compare to. Any saint could kill an emperor with a flick of his finger. Little bastard, show some respect to the true god palace. Long Qin glared at him angrily. Lin Mao raised his middle finger to show his suspense. You're not the true body of a false god, are you? If it's really a fake god, it shouldn't be so weak. It seems like you're also a coward. You don't even dare to show your true body. Are you afraid of the world suppressing sacred steel left behind by the sages of the 9 regions? Looks like you can't do it either. There was once a great scholar who once said, If you're a coward, you won't be able to beat me, Lin Chen. Lin Chen sneered. With a shake of his shoulders, he activated his phantom runes and sent out his 4 avatars. Your doppelganger technique has reached the pinnacle of perfection. Even I can't help but praise it. Even with my experience, this is the first time I've seen it. If it was a scroll, it would definitely be a peerless technique. The green-robed young man had a smile on his face. His eyes never opened. You specially went to the Dragon Clan to praise me? Lin Chen raised his eyebrows. Yan Qianyun, who was behind him, suddenly spoke. You're the fortune-teller behind the Dragon Clan. As soon as she said this, Lin Chen and the other 3 people revealed a trace of surprise. What a good little girl. You have good observation skills. The technique you practice is somewhat interesting. The green-robed young man didn't deny it and smiled indifferently. You killed them, right? Yan Qinyun's green eyes flashed with a strange light. Yes, I drank their blood. As soon as he said this, even Lin Chen felt his hair stand on end. This guy could actually control the dragon clan, and even drank the blood of the fortune-tellers who were kidnapped? Fortune-tellers can pry into the secrets of the heavens. They will faintly be tainted with a trace of holy qi from the starry skies. It's just that the holy qi is extremely faint and they themselves won't be able to detect it. However, it's different for existences like us. This is a good treasure for healing. The green-robed young man revealed an intoxicated expression. With a boom, ultimate moment and 7-layer transformations were activated. 5 sections of 8 desolation fingers furiously attacked. Long can flicked his sleeves and stretched out a hand. The void was distorted and a golden dragon's afterimage completely destroyed Lin Chen's 5 desolation fingers. Attacking without a word, what a rude wild dog! Long Ken was burning with anger. Lin Chen spat on the ground. F***CKU. Trash like you have the qualifications to talk about etiquette with me? Wagging your tail like a dog for a fake god and eating shit like a dog, does it feel good? Lin Chen. The green-robed young man's voice rose a notch. How about becoming my right-hand man? With your potential, I can't bear to erase it. If you can become my subordinate, you will definitely be an influential figure in the future. You will be a peerless genius who will rush up to the sacred boundary. If you have enough opportunities, you might even have a divine fate. The green-robed young man's words were extravagant. He actually threw an olive branch to Lin Chen? There's also your woman, this white-robed young lady. She has the eternal sacred fire. If I manage this power for you, the two of you will definitely become the strongest existences in the world. It won't even be a problem for you to surpass me at my peak. When he looked at Bai Ruoyan, he chuckled softly. His voice had a unique, illusory charm to it. Even Bai Ruoyan was momentarily caught in a hallucination, as if she had been placed in a bizarre illusion. Scram! Boom! A furious roar exploded like a spiritual storm, cutting off the green-robed young man's guidance. His smile gradually froze as he stared at Lin Chen and exclaimed in surprise. Middle stage spiritual power of the heaven completion realm? Good lad, no wonder even my illusory language technique didn't work. Who doesn't know how to brag? Are you a deity? A criminal of the sacred boundary dares to talk about divine fate. I, Lin Chen, can also head to the sacred boundary without relying on anyone. As for you, a demon who only dares to hide behind people's backs and stab them in the back, you don't even have any integrity. Any child I pick on the side of the road is more promising than you. Lin Chen spat, extremely disdainful. The green-robed young man finally stopped smiling. He closed his eyes and said indifferently, Looks like you refuse a toast only to be forced to drink a forfeit. It looked like he couldn't recruit this person. Although he felt that it was a pity, since he couldn't use him, he had to destroy him. In the near future, this lad would definitely be a great enemy. As soon as he said that, the two people behind him immediately got ready. Boom! Purple flames rolled and the azure dragon appeared. Lin Chen released the azure dragon, and the dragon's might shook the clouds. Even the green-robed young man revealed a hint of surprise when he saw the Dragon Emperor with 3 bloodlines in one body. Interesting. I'm getting more and more interested in you, Lin Chen. Chapter 690. Sister Ruoyan, can you bring Qianyun into the holy fire level? Lin Chen sent a private message to Bai Ruoyan. She replied, No, I can enter freely, but if I want to bring someone with me, I'll have to activate the holy fire level completely. Each activation consumes a huge amount of holy fire origin. If I activate it this time, I might fall into a deep sleep. The cost of activating the holy fire level was huge. Thinking back to when the holy fire spirit was still in Bai Ruoyan's body, She had kept the holy fire level as her trump card. One could imagine that it was not a killer move that could be used easily. That was a problem. Lin Chen's expression was unusually solemn. If Bai Ruoyan could bring Yan Qianyun into the holy fire level, he could use the super-dimensional teleportation to return to the spiritual state directly. However, if he brought Yan Qianyun along, he would not have enough talent points. Due to the update of the ultimate skill function, he only had 5.8 million talent points left. If he were to bring someone with him, the consumption of talent points would double, and he would not be able to teleport to other states. Bai Ruoyan seemed to know what Lin Chen was thinking. She turned into a snow-white jade slip and entered Lin Chen's chest, lying quietly in his embrace. Bang! One of Lin Chen's clones suddenly activated the six-fold transformation, creating a shadow vortex and charging toward the young man in green. Long Can's expression changed slightly. The clone unleashed the 7 deadly slash. The dragon's strength was like a saber, and the charging rune was activated. Its power increased by 4 times, and it slammed into the young man's chest. A mantis trying to stop a chariot. The young man flicked his sleeves and waved his fist. It seemed soft and weak, but the fist and palm collided. Bang! Rip! The space crystal wall cracked in a strange arc, and Lin Chen's clone was pushed hundreds of miles away. The arm that had used the 7 deadly slash was almost broken. That's some mysterious refining combat skill. Kid, you're full of treasures. The young man in green flicked his fingernails and sneered. Long Can and the Supreme Elder immediately surrounded Lin Chen. Lin Chen smiled strangely. He did not plan to attack the young man seriously. Consumed 20,000 talent points, successfully activated Stealing Omen. Stolen from target. 6 million intermediate ability essence point. F***CK. Lin Chen almost cursed out loud. How the F***CK did he steal 6 million cultivation technique soul essences? This was too ferocious. Even if he took the entire Han family's wealth, he only had about 6 million intermediate cultivation method soul essences. A false god is a false god after all. Even a doppelganger is extraordinary. I just happen to be lacking a cultivation technique essence. Lin Chen was secretly delighted. His 7 ultimate force and annihilation both required a huge amount of skill essence. Just in time. Lin Chen grabbed Yan Qianyun's arm and laughed. You are indeed very mysterious, fake god, but I don't need to fight you yet. The green-robed youth's brows twitched. Oh? Could it be? Activating super-dimensional teleportation. Carrying targets. 1. Consuming 900,000 talent point. Beginning teleportation to space coordinates number 2. Shwa. Above Lin Chen's head, a beam of light suddenly broke open. Then, the two of them disappeared in front of Long Can and the others. This is his unique space jumping technique. Even the space enchantment can't hold him back. Long Can's mouth twitched. The green-robed youth's face was full of interest. He turned around and faced another direction. Lin Chen, you can't escape from me. In the west wasteland, under a green ancient tree, the beam of light broke open. Lin Chen and Yan Qianyun arrived. Luckily, I didn't cancel this space coordinate back then. Lin Chen wiped off his cold sweat. This coordinate was where he and Long Kuan escaped to the barren state. The west wasteland and the south wasteland were very far apart. It would be difficult for the other party to lock onto him again. Let's go. I'll send you back first. Lin Chen was smiling at Yan Qianyun. Before he could finish his words, his face changed slightly. The Golden Eyes Twin and Eye of 9 Tribulations were activated. The grayish-white killing intent that was faintly lingered around the world and approached Lin Chen. Yan Qianyun also noticed it almost immediately. The two of them spoke at the same time. Chasing after us? Top-notch diviners were very sensitive to killing intent. Obviously, the other party could still lock onto their aura. by Ruoyan immediately flew out from the snow-white jade scroll and accompanied Lin Chen at all times. Since the other party insists on fighting, we can't not fight. Lin Chen's battle intent soared. He released the phantom runes and the 4 doppelgangers appeared again. The locations of the super-dimensional teleportation points were all within the Red Lotus Fiery Dragon region. Lin Chen couldn't teleport back. He also didn't have enough talent points to bring Yan Qianyun to the spatial coordinates outside the barren state. Qianyun, my doppelgangers will escort you back. You go first. His target is me. He probably won't look for you. Lin Chen instructed. Yan Qianyun nodded. She knew that she would only be a burden if she stayed here. After one doppelganger left with Yan Qianyun, the other doppelganger fled in the opposite direction. Just in case, Lin Chen planned to use another doppelganger to escape to another place and reset the space coordinate. This was his last resort. If you want to fight with us, then let's see if you can catch up to us. A hint of excitement flashed across Lin Chen's eyes. Since the other party wanted to fight, why not turn the dragon race upside down? The territories of the 10 great dragon races were the regions with the most intense special energy. As long as he found another place, he would be able to create a new sure-kill technique. However, there was a huge risk. That fake god had once commanded the 7 great dragon races. If he returned to the territories of the 10 great dragon races now, he might join forces with the dragon race to deal with him. At that time, he would be walking into a trap. This was a huge gamble. Lin Chen had bet on a sure-kill technique. He was fearless. Boom. The purple phoenix wings flapped, and the ultimate moment was activated. Lin Chen stepped on a dark vortex and rushed into the central area of the 10 great dragon races' territories. Brother Lin Chen's speed has increased again. Bai Ruoyan followed closely behind. She was slightly surprised. She had to use all her strength to barely keep up with his speed. Lin Chen's current pure strength was 899 million dragon power. His purple phoenix wings were extremely fast. Together with the infinite dark steps that was boosted by the ultimate moment, his speed had already surpassed many early 9th layer combat emperors. On the other side, 3 people were chasing after him. Oh, you let that little girl go to attract my attention? You even used 2 doppelganger. The young man in green was surprised. He didn't see the difference between Lin Chen and his doppelganger. He only saw the trace of Bai Ruoyan's Saint Flame and determined that the one beside Bai Ruoyan was Lin Chen's real body. Although I don't know what you're planning, you're courting death by entering the territories of the 10 great dragon races. The 3 of them increased their speed, creating a sonic boom. The overwhelming aura shocked the many ferocious beasts below, causing them to crawl on the ground in fear. The Dragon Emperor flew across the sky, flapping his winged dragon wings and purple phoenix wings. Bai Ruoyan stood beside Lin Chen to protect him. System, I want to cultivate the annihilation technique. After thinking about it again and again, Lin Chen still chose the annihilation technique. The system consumed the 10.9 million technique essence that Lin Chen currently had. You're tuning in to the Phoenix Knights YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.